At some point, I think Jerk might start singing School's Out. We'll see. EK65 hits 100 points. We got a season epilogue for you. It's the final Pucknologist of the season. Last day of school, people. I guess we'll see if Erik Karlsson's in the intro next season, huh? Welcome to show 192, last of the season. It's the unfiltered, unedited, uncensored, commercial-free Sharks podcast that is the Pucknologist here on Teal Town, USA. Remember, you can keep us commercial-free by using that super chat option during the live shows. Better yet, find us on Venmo at Teal Town, USA. And shout out to Chris Hogue, who came in hot on Venmo this week. Thank you so much. It goes a long way to helping out the podcast. We certainly appreciate it. However, if you are new here, remember to hit the subscribe button and leave your take in the comments section of the video if you're not with us live. If you're audio only on your favorite podcast app, make sure you subscribe there. And evidently, if you're watching on YouTube via a mobile device, apparently there are emoji options now. So have fun with those. There's like hearts and hundreds and faces, so whatever. But it's all fun, right? And, we're on social media. Great. All right, Jerk. We're finally here. Seems like we waited 6 months.
Took long enough.
Fucking A. Sharks end the season with 6 straight losses. They picked up 0 of 6 points this week, going 3-0. The Sharks finished the season with a record of 22, 44, and 16. Good for 60 points. The Sharks' worst point total over 82 games since 95-96, or what Jerk calls the season he was born.
More or less.
Sharks finished 7th in the Pacific Division, 29th in the league this week. EK hit 100 in Winnipeg. Kahkonen set a career high in Calgary. And Deja Vu all over again in Edmonton. Strap in, grab a cold one. We got a ton to get to tonight. The season eulogy should be fun, but shall we just, start with an image that just kind of summarizes the entire season in a nutshell? I think that's about it. I think that explains the entire season. Here's the franchise. And, yeah. Does that hit the nail on the head any harder?
It's pretty close.
All right, let's start with Winnipeg. Reimer starts. Winnipeg, this is their game in hand on Calgary, up by 1 in the standings for second in the wild card. And 8 Sharks played in this game that started the season somewhere else. That was kind of fun. Of course, Robins and Raska getting called up. Bortolo already there, but hey. Vlasic ended up going out for the season in the previous game, joining Barabanov, Janssen, and Lindblom. So Robins gets his NHL debut. Knyzhov is recalled. Some interesting lines and pairs, to say the least. I mean, dude, Bortolo, Robins, and Raska. Cuda line.
I really feel like just looking at the lines over this week, it felt very much like a, let's just throw it out there and kind of try and get to the end of the week.
Throw it at the wall, see what sticks?
Yeah, it kind of feels like, you have that, you to continue with this school comparison, right? Where maybe all year you're dealing with that uptight, kind of teacher, and then it's the last day of school and it's like, or maybe even like, I've had it happen before where it's like, well, we still have 3 more days of school, but we finished our lesson plan, so we're going to watch Back to the Future.
Hell yeah. Dude,
and it's like, all right, I guess that's just what we're doing.
Was there anything better when they rolled in that TV on the stand?
Oh, it's the best, dude, the best.
Dude, you knew you were having a day, or at the very least a class. So you love to see a give and go. Peterson and EK65, and he gets his 99th point 24 seconds in, would later score his second of the night to finally reach the century mark there. His 25th goal of the season coming on a rare power play tally. We even saw Thrun getting a look with EK65. We'll see if that continues next season. Couture gets his 700th NHL point with an assist, joining Pavelski Thornton, and Marlowe as the only Sharks to reach 700 in teal. Dude, you are a Peterson guy. How'd you like that give and go, dude? That was pretty sick.
Yeah, he's definitely playing like a guy who belongs to be there, right? I mean, how many
You about to disparage Reedy or what?
No, I'm just how many guys over the last 4 years have we seen come in and it's like, well, this is a guy, we'll see what happens, right? And then nothing happens, And so I feel like similar to, and not to say that it's a direct comparison by any stretch, but you remember when Knyzhov came in, it was like, okay, this guy's kind of a little bit of an unknown. Let's see, right? And that ended up being a nice little deal for the Sharks. And kind of the same thing with Peterson. Now, obviously, there are a handful of people, myself included, who are like, yeah, this is a sneaky good little player to get, but you never really know, right?
It's proven to be a smart get so far.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not Barabanov for Suomela, but it's getting there.
Not yet. I mean, to not don't want to go too far down, but and I think we know why, but last year with Dallas, he had 12 goals. Good little season there. And then Pete DeBoer comes in after one game. I don't need this guy. Put him in the AHL. And then he comes to the Sharks, and yes, I'm going to be the first to tell you it's a small sample size, but this is what the Sharks need. They need, I'll say, intriguing. They need intriguing play from guys who aren't making a lot of money, right? And Peterson looks to be that kind of guy. Now, as I said, he's only played 11 games, but kind of like what I said last week, and I think you'll agree with me here, where with what he's done already before pre-Sharks and what he did with the Sharks this year, I'm kind of the belief that he is a step above, those cluster of guys who's going to be fighting for a spot. Like, I would almost wager that Peterson has a spot and, is only going to lose it, say he gets hurt or arrested or something. You know what I mean?
If he goes straight Mark Bell, I got you.
Yeah.
Oh, man. John coming in on the super chat. Thank you so much, John. We appreciate that. Great shows this season. See you next year. I mean, we'll hang out until the end of this one, won't you?
I know what happened. I don't need to watch.
Exactly.
It's going to be real interesting. Just going back to Peterson, it's going to be real interesting because he is an RFA with the arbitration rights. I'm going to be really curious to see what happens here.
Love it. Love to see it. We'll get to Cap Friendly in a little bit.
It'll be interesting.
Yeah. The things you hate to see, of course, the Cuda line got a little rinsed in this one. It's another game where the Sharks score first, can't hold the lead, and Arizona ends up being the only team the Sharks swept this season, to the delight of Swift Sharks. You'll remember, when we lose to Arizona, I'll donate 50. And unfortunately,
lived.
Dude picked the one team. And this would be the third straight game that the Sharks allowed 6 goals in. Ugh, you hate to see it. But you want to talk home cooking. EK 65, hits the century mark. You think that, maybe we probably got to give him the number 1 star for that. And then, nope, Morrissey, Lowry, then EK 65. But I guess there. Whatever.
What do I always say about the 3 stars?
Dude,
bunch of rigged bullshit.
That's right. Then we move on. Oh, that was, did I even say the score? It was a 6-2 loss. So we move on to the Calgary game. Kahkonen back in net. Big story for this, of course, being Gilroy native Dustin Wolf starting in goal for Calgary, who were knocked out of the playoffs earlier in the week. Sharks could have had this guy. I mean, he was taken third, fourth last pick of the draft.
Yeah, and Kevin Lacey is the real, he
has
real
the receipts.
He's the real cheerleader on that story because he even leading up to that draft, he was the thing he was saying was, you want a guy from your area, grew up supporting your team. This is your guy. This is who you take, right? And Kevin Lacey, I see, is in the chat. I'm sure he's going to have something to say. But, he had said, this is the guy, right? And considering what we've seen, in previous 7th rounds, the Sharks could have very easily made that happen, you know?
Mhm.
And so it's a question of, like, what did Kevin Lacey see that, Tim Burke and Doug Wilson Jr. didn't see? You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And
Or
it looks
Nabby.
good. Right. I mean, guy was the, you know, uh, AHL All-Star MVP. He's MVP of the AHL this year, I would say.
Dude.
And looks like a home run pick for the Flames, and it's really unfortunate that it's not the Sharks, because I feel like, they've swung moves very easily that were more difficult than drafting Dustin Wolf,
Dude. Well, and just to go off for a second, who? Dude, does Calgary just fire everybody after this season?
Well, I'm I'm very interested to see what happens, right? Because they gave Sutter the 2-year extension, which starts next year, but Tree doesn't have a contract. And, if you listen to 32 Thoughts, they were saying that Tree got offered an extension earlier in the year and was like, well, let's see what happens,
Well, and let's not forget, Sutter at one point was the GM of Calgary.
Right. And so I wonder what's going to happen, because, you see all the time, right? Like with the Sharks, with Mike Greer coming in, like, you could have a conversation about whether or not what Mike Greer has to deal with is the fault of Doug Wilson or because of Doug Wilson, whatever. But like, say Tree doesn't re-sign with the Flames and they bring in a new general manager, that GM is going to get all the blame if it goes sideways, but none of the credit, because it's going to be everybody's going to say, well, this is the team that Tree Living put together, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I wonder, with the the way their payroll is kind of set up for next year and 2 years from now, like, I wonder if maybe he would want to like see his work through to the end, and then if it doesn't work out in 2 years, then you readjust.
Yeah, I like that. So for the Calgary game, things you love to see. I mean, a D-zone turnover. Shimmick finds Gregor speeding down, buries his own rebound, gives the Sharks a lead. Gregor getting his career high 9th goal. Love to see it. Thrun playing huge minutes. Kak with a career high 46 of 48 saved, and the Sharks only took one penalty, and it was like halfway through the third, so they were playing a more disciplined game. Do you like to see that? Because it's been far and few between when the Sharks drew more penalties than they take. But on the other side, you hate to see that shots on goal differential. Ooh, and the Sharks get swept by Calgary. EK has an NHL leading 21st empty net goal allowed after failing to get the puck deep. It skews that lovable plus minus that we all love so much. But tell me if you heard this before. Sharks scored first and lost. And then we talk about the bullshit of 3 stars. Zadorov, absolutely. Didn't Chief have a hat trick in this?
Yeah, he had all 3 of the Flames goals.
There you go. And then Wolf, okay, fine. But Coronado? Like, I don't understand. Kak has a career high 46 of 48 save, doesn't get a star, and I'm assuming, because it was Coronado's debut.
I was going to say, that's the NHL debut bump.
Yeah, F you.
The outcome of this game, I have to admit, was a little surprising, just because you remember we talked about a week ago, and I said, I had said if the Flames, they end up not making the playoffs, I could really see that be rattling for them, and I could see this be the game that the Sharks get their one win of the week. And obviously we saw what happened, and it's just, I don't think, as far as a consistent 100% all the way through game, like, this wasn't it for Calgary. Like, there were definitely moments where I thought the Sharks were on top of them, but for the most part, the Flames really looked like they had it put together. And I'm just like, if you had done this when it mattered, you would be in the playoffs,
Hell yeah. Oh, John keeping me honest, I must have misspoke. So I think you meant to say Sharks scored first and lost in OT. Wait, did they lose the game in overtime?
Against the Flames?
Yeah.
No,
that's okay. Maybe you misspoke, John. I don't know. I'm sure I got something wrong. Alex in the chat saying, if the Sharks won half the games they had a lead, but ended up losing would they have been in the playoffs? They would have been sniffing it, I think. But we talked about it last week, man. You dump that loser point, and they have the best odds in the draft. But
Right. But you know what though? Shoe on the other foot, because you said how many games it was that they led first and then lost?
I have it here. Had a lead total 55, lost 35.
Right. So and I think we'd kind of made the point last week, right? Where say you win half of those games. Say you win a third of those games, right? You put 20 more points in the bank. Guess what? You leapfrog a lot of the teams that are in front of you, and that doesn't put you in a playoff spot. You're still 15 points out of a playoff spot at that point, but you're a lot closer. And so I think if you even scale it up a little bit further, say the Sharks, those really good Sharks teams, of years past, they would have, 35 of those games they lost, they could have won half of them, I would believe. And then all of a sudden you're right there. And so, and I think David Quinn talked about it. I mean, he's talked about it so much, right? But having that situational awareness and that kind of killer instinct of when you're up and knowing what you need to do and what not to do, right? And a product of that is the roster. I mean, let's not pretend like this roster was all that good, but there were numerous moments in the season where things could have gone differently if, you have one or two more better players, or the players you already have, maybe they play maybe at a higher level, not even better than what they are, but just what they are,
Hell yeah. And
not to do whataboutism, but yes, the Sharks were terrible, but there's a lot of stats where you're like, man, that is historically terrible for them.
Well, and I remember them mentioning it on the cast that the Flames had lost just an insane amount of games by a goal. A lot of one-goal games. And I didn't go through it, but the Sharks, I remember early on in the first couple months, man, there was a lot of one-goal games there. Could have, geez, 16 overtime losses.
Oof. Well, and a lot of games, the game against Tampa Bay comes to mind. There's 2 games against Anaheim that come to mind where
it might have been Sharks, 3.
Yeah, the Sharks were leading and then either leading or tied, and then gave up the tying or winning goal towards the very end of regulation, right?
Well, dude, that the what comes to mind for me is that clown show versus Colorado last week where we played the clip of that shit show in overtime.
Right.
Oof.
And I think this will, I really think the season has ended at a perfect time, because like the Sharks, they can all go away and not think about hockey and kind of turn everything off and just, focus on, I know Couture is getting ready to have a child. He can focus on that. And, guys, they're living their lives. Right. And I think a break from the, constant, like, shit kicking, I think will do a lot of good. And it'll get everybody to kind of come back with a fresh mindset. I mean, think about this, dude. Think about the Winnipeg Jets. Like, yeah, they made the playoffs. There's all kinds of baggage surrounding that team, dude. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Vegas just gasses them in the first round, and then like next day it's like, yeah, so Mark Scheifele, yeah, we'll see. You know what I mean?
See,
like,
it's funny
there's a lot of baggage around that team, even though they made the playoffs.
It's funny you say that though, and I do want to save this for later because we're going to get into it. But I've seen a lot of people having Winnipeg as their upset in the first round.
Oh boy, I mean,
let's save it for later.
Yeah, that's a thought.
Yeah. Something to chew on for now. We finally get to the last game of the season. Yay! Last game of the season. Thank you. Reimer getting the start despite Kahkonen setting a career high, but it was a game the night before, so I get it. And this was a must-win for Edmonton if they had any hope of winning the Pacific. VGK was 2 points ahead and playing in Seattle, but VGK unfortunately wiped Seattle in 2 straight. That kind of sucked. I was rooting for Edmonton to take it. But anyway, 5-2 loss for the Sharks. And, of course, it wouldn't be a San Jose game if they didn't give up a shorthanded goal in the last one of the season. Odd line changes from the previous game. But anyway, McD has a 17-game point streak against San Jose. And, of course, he extended that. Dude, I'm sorry, man. Janmark,
Mm-hmm.
dude, walked EK65 for that goal. Walked him.
Yeah. Well, and
Dude.
I think that goes back to the point I was making a couple minutes ago, right? Where, I mean, you and I were very much like, man, I don't even give a shit what happens. Like, imagine, like, I couldn't even imagine having to play this game where it's like, yeah, like we're crap. We gotta, we gotta play the best team in our division. And, then we get to go home. Like, at least, I still do think the season ended at the right time, but at least when you're in the season, like through the course of the season, yeah, you may lose a bunch, but you still have that next thing to look forward to, right?
Sure.
Where now, like, yes, I think it is good for the Sharks to go their separate ways, stop, think about it, process everything, but there's going to be a lot of, I think, frustration initially, right? And I couldn't imagine having to play in this game where it's like, it's like, it's again, we're sticking with the school theme, right? Where it's like you don't have enough credits to graduate, so you have to do summer school, and the guidance counselor is like, well, you should still come on the last day anyway, and it's like, well, I got to do summer school. What does it matter? And you're just there when you don't want to be, and it's terrible. You know what I mean?
Well, the thing that I got a kick out of this game, because obviously, nothing really mattered, but dude, when Kane and Hurdle had that little brouhaha,
yeah,
I was kind of hoping Hurdle was going to drop him, because I felt like when all that shit went down with Kane and the Sharks, I didn't, there were a couple guys on the team, it felt like, we've said it before, that it felt like him and Meyer were kind of boys.
Mm-hmm.
Hurdle, definitely not somebody who was vocal about wanting Kane around.
Well, and I don't want to falsely attribute anything to anybody.
Yeah,
but
I'm not casting any aspersions or anything, but I'm going by what we know happened,
totally.
and you can make some inferences. But
Right,
I was a little surprised Hurdle didn't just like take all his frustrations out at that moment.
Well, and even going back, because you remember, I mean, I can barely remember this year, and now you're asking me to remember 2 years ago. Like back when all that, it's every, whatever your podcast of choice is, right? Every week it was like, okay, here's the latest on Hurdle and the Sharks, right? And it felt like that first half of the season, it was always not necessarily inside info, but more of just like, hey, I wonder if this has to do with anything with it. Where it's like, the Evander Kane situation is a consideration for Hurdle. And nobody's confirmed that. It's more just open speculation. But I do recall that being a big part of the dialogue, where it was like, Hurdle was believed to be one of kind of the leaders of the get rid of this guy charge,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's not like confirmed, or I wouldn't even call it, speculated. I think when you said inferred, I think that's a really good word, because it is, it's a guess. I mean, let's call it what it is. It's a guess, right?
Educated to a certain extent.
Sure.
A little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I would say there's a good chance, over 98% chance, that, we're flat out wrong, but doesn't mean people aren't going to consider it,
Sure. Absolutely. I mean, when you see certain guys going out of their way to defend somebody, and then you see other guys, I'm not saying going out of the way to say nothing, but
and with how much that hockey is talked about as like, a brotherhood or a sisterhood, right? Where it's like you stick with your people, and it's all very, it's very much a pack mentality, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, going back to that time, when you say nothing, you're saying something. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Silent. That's what they say sometimes, is the silence is deafening.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously the things you love to see was the end of the season. You hate to see, Draisaitl finishing with a 3-point night.
Do we though? Do we really hate to see it?
Yeah. I
mean, I for one enjoyed.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you got him on your fantasy,
I watched it.
EK65 not on the bench to end the game. Who knows? I'm not going to speculate, but I mean, it could have been like, I took a funny hit, or if he's just like, fuck this, just let me get an early pack. But almost tying Leach. Man, finishes with 101. No NHL defenseman has hit 100 since Brian Leach hit 102 back in 92. So, hey, man, EK almost there.
Hell of a season.
Hell of a season. And we'll get into that in a little bit. Let's get to our hero and zeros for the week and for the season, for that matter. For the week, I got to go Gregor, man. I mean, 6 goals, 9 games played. Dude was bringing the speed. And was he? I'm trying to remember. Oh no, it was Tristen Robins. I was going. Wait a minute. I remember hearing about like some family followed them, saw every single game this week. That was the Robins family, not Gregor. But either way, Gregor, dude, 6 goals, 9 games played. Definitely the confidence seemed to. I don't know. That's the thing that makes me nervous with Gregor, is that the confidence seems to build when there's nothing to play for.
Right.
You know what I mean? But he's my hero for the week. Who you got?
Not bad. Well, similar to previous weeks in this season, it's really hard to pick, and I think the one person, and again, I think we're both in agreement that
say it,
but I honestly think it's Kaapo Kähkönen, just because, as you mentioned, and he only played one of the 3 games, but you know what? He had a career high, as you'd mentioned, in saves. And I mean, in that game, yes, the 3-1 loss, but still put up a .958 save percentage, which is very good. And he outperformed Reimer this week, which has been a common occurrence this season, but I don't really think it's been talked about how common that's been. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Where I thought, yes, now on the course of the season, Reimer obviously does have better stats than Kaapo Kähkönen, but I've kind of felt
a lot of games, dude, where Kähkönen got hung out to dry.
Right.
Like,
and
he was playing well, but the offense just couldn't solve the other goalie.
Right. And I feel like even though on the season, Reimer's stats are better than Kähkönen, I feel like Kähkönen had better, I guess, individual moments, you could say.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be my hero for the week.
All right. For the season, I mean, obviously EK65 is the obvious sexy pick, but and so with that, I'm going to go Barabanov.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Dude, you are my hero for the season. You brought more than expected. I don't even know if I should say more than expected. I feel like he delivered kind of what we thought he was going to do.
More or less, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just kind of like, hey, man, you showed up and dude, I really couldn't ask for more from Barbie this year.
Mm-hmm.
So he's my hero for this season.
I wish that he could have gotten to 50 points, but he was injured, which sucked. Oh gosh. Yeah, I'm going to do the same as you. I'm going to say, like, not Erik Karlsson, just because that, like, he is the hero of the season, but if we just both say the same thing and then move on, that's lame. Mm-hmm. So,
be lame.
Right. So not, aside from Karlsson, like I'm going to say Nico Sturm, right?
Solid choice.
I mean, he's a guy I questioned bringing him in just because we had Nick Bonino, right? And then we saw what Nick Bonino was this year, while also simultaneously seeing what Nico Sturm was doing, and I can't say whether, he had 14 goals this year, right? Which is very good for him. I can't say if he's going to continue to score at that pace, right? But even if he doesn't, I mean, he's such a good bottom 6 center, right? He does all the right things. He can win faceoffs. He's fast, defensively responsible, penalty kill guy, all those kinds of things. And just the fact that he put up 14 goals when a player like that, you're expecting somewhere in the 7 to 10 neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought it was one of the few bright spots on this season was the fact that he had come in and played so well,
Well, and Chief, dude, Sturm, he had I know Couture won the Media Good Guy Award this year, but my vote went to Sturm.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that dude answered the bell a lot of times. And brought maybe a little more honesty than maybe some of the players were even, comfortable hearing. But,
Right.
Let's move on to the fun one, of course. 0 for the week. I hate to say it, dude. Mario,
Yeah.
Mario, whatever. It's just you're killing me, Smalls. And I've said this before. I feel like dude is trying to replace Burns or whatever, and it's like, don't worry about replacing Burns. Be Vlasic 2.0. That's what you should aspire to. So
You need to be, I'm borrowing this quote from a movie, you need to be who you are, not who you're supposed to be.
hey, now
Right.
there you go.
And like you said, I think when Ferraro was being who he is, I thought he was really good. And then all of a sudden Burns goes, and regardless of the offensive prowess, right, just from dollars and ice time, it's saying, well, this is the next guy up. What are you going to do for us?
Yeah.
And so it's kind of put him in a position where, and I think he tried.
Oh, that's the one thing I'll never question from him is his compete level, but just it's got to be the parent in the room. Make better choices. Who's your 0 for the week?
I gotta say, and I don't have a specific reason to point out, or I should say, there's not a specific moment on the ice. It's Jacob McDonald, and I know, again, the worst player in the NHL is really good at hockey, but here's the thing, and I don't want to be mean, but
do it.
Jacob McDonald is just he's not very good, and I'm sorry to say, and that's not to say that I'm good.
There's been a couple times where I was like, he's kind of better at forward than defense.
I don't know. I'm just, I feel like he's noticeably, a step beneath like everybody. And I'm just, and like I said, he didn't do anything bad in particular. I just think the way he plays is very uninspiring and uninteresting, where it's like.
So would you, let me ask you this then. I mean, if you've got a healthy Knyzhov, you obviously have Thrun coming in.
Yep.
Mukamadula, you think what's Peterson or what's McDonald's deal?
Well, he signed for next year, so they don't have to worry about that. But honestly, he's
7th D
on this team. Yeah, he's a 7th D. If he was on a Stanley Cup team, I don't even know that he's in the NHL. To be honest with you.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. All right. So for the season, I hate to say it, man, Lindblom.
Yeah.
Dude, you were outscored by Gregor, who played 17 fewer games than you. I mean, and remember at the beginning of the season, a lot of talk that Lindblom was going to be that guy to help kind of shore up the top 6.
Mm-hmm.
How'd that work out? I mean, it felt like dude was, I don't know. He was on the bottom 6, felt pretty quickly. And every time they gave him a sniff, it just never worked out for Chief. So
yeah, it just felt like it was an uphill battle from the beginning, and it seemed like he was always chasing it,
Mm-hmm.
And I still think he is a good player. So I'm
is he?
I think so, and I think next year again, you kind of refresh and you say, wow, that was terrible. I need to be better. Mm-hmm. I think next year he can come in and have a good season. Is he? I think if you can at this point, if you can get 12 goals out of him next year, 15 goals, I think that's perfectly fine,
Yeah. And I think he was sold as a 20. But who's your 0 for the season?
0 for the season is going to be James Reimer. For many reasons. Number one, just the way.
I mean, if you just,
exactly.
That's what I was going to say. If you just do a comparison from last year, it's kind of a no-brainer.
Right. Just last year to this year, it wasn't, it was a like a torpedo, right? It's just going way down. I mean, save percentage from, 911 to 890, like just terrible, right? Yeah. But and again, if somebody wants to point me to some information where I'm wrong, please do. But I feel like historically, James Reimer, he's been a very he's been a very accountable guy, right? Where if he plays terrible, he'll be the first to let you know. He'll say, I need to be better. I need to do this. The team is counting on me. I want to do everything right. And it felt to me, despite the fact that he had some real doozies this year. I mean, he was terrible. Let's just call it what it is.
Yeah.
And from my observations, it didn't seem like there was any accountability on like, well, yeah, my 5-hole is brutal, or, my glove hand sucks. It was just like, well,
dude, the 5-hole was brutal this year.
And again, I don't, if somebody wants to point me to evidence that says I'm wrong, then please do. But just from my observation, it didn't feel like there was a whole lot of accountability there on how terrible he was playing.
Yeah. And I think you could make an argument for zero of the season being Ferraro as well. Again, yeah. I feel like maybe dude was just trying to do too much.
Well, it's just like, you hear the expression, right? Meat and potatoes, right? And Ferraro, I think he's a good skater, and I think his brain, like, he's got it. Like, he has the smarts and the expertise, right? But there's kind of that, like you said, that insistence to do a lot.
Yeah, make better choices.
Where you remember, and we've talked about it before, where his first 2 seasons on the team, he was kind of looked at as like, wow, this kid, he's 20 and like he's this stalwart, and
well, and of course it pumped everything when he was put up with Burns.
Right. But you look at it, you go back to those first 2 years, and like what he was doing that was getting a lot of people hyped was like very basic stuff, and so it's kind of like, okay, like you've clearly shown that when you stick to the fundamentals, you can be a really good defensive defenseman. So just stick to that.
Yeah. And I like the point that Lacey makes. That it's a catch-22 with Reimer. It's if he'd played as well as last season, the Sharks don't sniff the bottom 5, but they, chances are somebody would have taken him during the deadline.
Right.
That would have been nice, which was what we were all talking about at the beginning of the season.
Mm-hmm.
So let's move on to some notable topics. Knyzhov nominated for the Masterton. Does he get it? I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I mean, I definitely think he's going to be in the top 3, I think.
I can see top 3. Silverberg, man, that's a story.
And little inside baseball here, we're doing, because our opinion matters. So, Chilltown USA, we're doing ballots again for the second year in a row. And, I do have Knyzhov in my top 3. I think the story is really incredible, right? The injuries, the desire to get back to playing. But, I just, you look at Christopher Letang, had a stroke, heart problems. His father passed away and still played, really impressive hockey. It's hard to argue against that. And I know you don't want to, like, it feels really kind of real gritty to, like, compare hardships.
Yeah, I mean,
but
it impacts everybody differently.
Right, but I don't see how it's not Chris Letang just based on the turmoil that he's gone through this year.
All right. We brought it up last week, but the Sharks officially signed Magnus Chrona earlier this week, 2-year ELC with a $925 AAV.
Mm-hmm.
As of now, Chrona and Kahkonen, only goalies the Sharks have signed for next season. Reimer and Dell are both pending UFA, and McAniemi and Mann are both pending RFA.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, on the reserve list, you have Gaudreau and Beaupit.
Yep.
I think we're probably going to dive into this a little bit later when we start doing our projections for next season. But, hey, it's just funny. We talked about Chrona, and then all of a sudden, boom, next day. Like literally the next morning, dude.
Well, especially because, I mean, we were both very much like, yeah, at this point, maybe the Sharks just try and get something for him.
Oh, dude, that tweet the next morning, you're like, wow, how wrong was I?
Yeah.
The Sharks also signed center Ethan Cardwell to a 3-year ELC. Dude put up 90 points in 62 games with the Bari Colts.
Yeah.
Dude was killing it. Defenseman Artem Guriev. Am I getting that? All right. Another 3-year ELC. Had 15 points with 47 games with the Peterborough Petes, Flint Firebirds, and noted Kevin Lacey despised player.
I was gonna say, I don't want to sit here and pretend like I know everything, so I'm just gonna give props to those who do. Both Kevin and Ian were very much like, I would have just let this guy just relinquish his rights, and those are smart guys, I kind of take them at their word. And I understand, we talked about it I think 2 weeks ago, where Mike Grier is accumulating all of these defensive prospects, and I understand that, but the point that Ian made was like, this this is not a can't miss prospect.
Yeah,
like the Sharks would be better off to save the money and just not sign him.
Feel you on that.
More or less the vibe that I got.
Bozosaurus coming in with the donation.
Shout out.
Thank you so much. Love you guys and what you do. See you next season. Absolutely. Ricky, I'm here for the next season's roster segment. All right. Well, we're going to get there. We'll get there. We're not there yet. We're going to get there. Another announcement this week. Oh my gosh. This seems so silly. Although I did like the meme that went around. But the announcement being San Jose's downtown arena will continue to remain SAP Center. Remember, this is the fourth name they're on after San Jose Arena, Compact Center, HP Pavilion, now SAP Center. It's going to be SAP Center for at least the next 5 years through 2028. They announced formally last Monday. The Sharks signed a 10-year lease extension with the city of San Jose, which owns the building, back in 2015. Beginning in 2026, the lease renews on an annual basis through 2040. So I guess what this means is that the Sharks, at the very least, are staying in the arena for the next 5 seasons through 27-28. And hopefully by that time, the Google thing should be close to getting done. But it does beg the question, was there a conflict of interest? I mean, Hasso literally owns both. Aren't you just moving money from one account to the other?
I would say no, just because SAP is they're an NHL sponsor.
Oh yeah, okay. But
and so
either way, though, it did that meme of like Barack Obama putting on a medal on a Photoshop Barack Obama.
You know what though? Here's the thing, and you kind of brought it up. You alluded to it. Here's the thing. I know multiple people. One of them happens to be my mother, who are not.
I'm so happy you know who your mother is.
They're not the biggest, Sharks fans or hockey fans. Like they will ask like, hey, how's the team doing? And they're familiar with the lore, but these are not people that would consider themselves fans, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so with that descriptor, even my mom will say, hey, every now and again we'll talk on the phone. She'll say, hey, do you know what's going on at the tank? My mom, who's not a Sharks fan, says the tank.
Mm-hmm.
That's so they could call it, Teal Town USA Plex. It's the tank.
Yep.
You know what I mean? They could call it, they could call it Set Your Money on Fire Here. It's the tank.
Yep. And I appreciate that. Makes things easy.
Right. The Sharks are too, they, and I'm not blaming them. I mean, who doesn't love that corporate dollar? But, man, if the Sharks really wanted to let everybody know how tough they were, they would call the arena the tank, like officially put letters on the building and everything.
I'm just happy to hear that you know multiple people.
I mean, at least multiple people.
At least. So more than one. All right. Now, hold on. I remember something about this. Not some mid-major saying, AJ, when are you making the Teal Forever Barracuda Now shirts? What? I remember that was I
don't even know what that means.
It was a joke that I made, like, I think earlier in the season, whether it was something, oh God, what was it? It had something to do with one of the things, one of the taglines that the Sharks had. There was Teal together, but there was, oh, that's what it was. It was Teal for life, but Barracuda right now. Yeah, the beginning of the season. Thank you for that callback, man. I forgot about that. Oh, that was a good one. Friedman on 32 Thoughts earlier this week said Kevin Bieksa is a anti-Karlsson for the Norris. Cites the amount of times he's been on the ice for the goals against, including empty netters, which NHL leading -21. And, of course, just where the Sharks are. Now, of course, the counterpoint to this is, does it make a larger argument for EK65 to get the Norris based on that? He's played every game this season and has been able to post that many points on a cellar dweller. You know, like, Makar is awesome. But even if he plays all 82, his numbers only extrapolate to 90. And, of course, we're going to find out on June 26th. But, oh, man, what do you think? Like,
I think that's a stupid take to have.
Well, I mean, we're talking, it's Kevin Bieksa.
Well, you know, I don't want to reference the inside baseball, but, you know, I did see a certain ballot that was a little bit heroic. I'm not going to say who filled it out, but...
well, what ballot are we talking about?
You know, one that may or may not have been filled out by someone on this show.
You're talking about the Tealtown ballots.
Yeah.
Oh, did I go hero on the Norris?
You did.
Yeah. Well, that's because holy shit, Teal BT dick swinging in here. Wow. Good Lord.
Stop the presses.
Yeah, dude. Show's over. We're gonna take this and go home party. Teal BT. Yeah, when you donate that much, we literally stop what we're saying just to get to it. Please, God, Jesus, Moses, give us Bedard. Thanks for sticking with it this year. Shout out. Oh, let's get it back in here. Shout out. After Dark Crew, Lacey. It's I like that. After Dark Crew, Lacey, etc. Happy Jewels is on board. Very interested what you hope to see happen this summer. Random thought, I think Leafs make it to the Eastern Conference Final this year and lose to somebody. We're going to get there. We're going to get to
You think they'll lose to somebody?
I think they'll lose to somebody, but we will talk about the playoffs soon.
Certainly possible. No, shout out. Thank you.
Yeah, dude, that's
TLBT. Thank you so much.
Yeah, dude, that is so awesome. You're up there with our Chris Hogue. You're up on our. We're going to have little trophies to put back here for balls out donations. Jesus Christ, that is so awesome. Thank you. So okay, all right. Well, you know what?
Hold on. Let me get back to
I was going to say, once everybody has submitted their ballot,
sure, then
we can go full hero.
Yeah. So, the only thing that I'll say specifically to Kevin Bieksa's argument was, I mean, and it's been talked about so much. Like, I don't understand how and not you, but just generally speaking, I don't understand how you can point out, the fact that a defenseman scoring 100 points in a season is historical. Only six defensemen in the history of the NHL have done it, and then follow it up by saying, but not the best defenseman of the year. And secondly, pointing out, pointing
out that he doesn't play defense.
But that's such a lame argument, because I saw multiple instances this week where he played defense when the score was completely out of hand, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I just think, mentioning he's been on the ice for a lot of goals against, a lot of them empty netters, 21, I believe is what you said.
Well, yeah, and that I will totally give you, because it's like, well, who else would you want out there in overtime?
Right. Well, and that's the thing, because on the one hand,
or I shouldn't say overtime, but I mean, in the final minute. Is
right.
is there somebody else?
and here's the thing. On the one hand, you're trying to score a goal in the waning moments of the game. That's the guy you want out on the ice.
Exactly.
Conversely, your goalie is pulled. Who do you want, out there to help you try and lock things down on that end of the ice?
Yeah.
Same guy.
Yeah.
And there's so much more, like minutes played, the fact that the D-core beyond the Sharks beyond Erik Karlsson is brutal.
Well, dude,
right?
If you take all the points from the other defensemen and put them all together, I mean, I'm sure you can do quick math, but I'm just going to I'm going to eyeball this and go, Erik Karlsson probably has more, if you took every other defenseman and what they've scored, he probably has more points if you take those other defensemen and combine them and times them by 5.
Well, here, let me butter your toast here really quick.
Hey, now, I love that.
Did you know, and you're obviously a smart guy, so you probably know about Connor McDavid. Did you know that this season Erik Karlsson has more even strength points than Connor McDavid?
It's so filthy.
So I look at that and I'm like, Don't get me wrong, dude.
I feel like we've been triggered by Bieksa and should probably move on.
No, but don't get me wrong. There's a lot of negative things you can say about Erik Karlsson that I think are completely fair to say, 100%.
That's just not one of them.
Right, but when like, again, it goes back to that whole conversation of moving the goalposts, right? Where I've seen people who will say, well, when he has a Norris Trophy season, then I'll give him his cookie. And it's like, now he's had the Norris Trophy season. Well, he's minus 30 or whatever. And it's like, okay, so why don't you just say you don't like the guy? Then at least we'll know that your word means something, right?
Sure. No.
and that's what I give you credit for. No, not at all. I think it's the complete opposite. I think you get a lot of credit because you don't bullshit people. You're just straight up. You say, you know what? Not the biggest fan, but I want to be proven wrong.
Oh, absolutely.
You're not one of these cowards on Twitter who's like, yeah, 100 points is cool, but
No, this year totally proved me wrong. And we talked about it at the beginning. Hell, we might have talked about this a couple years ago. Didn't I say something about, like, if he doesn't fight for the Norris in at least half of that contract, it's kind of, not the best.
Well, and you did also make a point as well, right? Where it's like, I think it was 2 years ago. And you said, you had said, at what point does, at what point can you fairly grade the Erik Karlsson contract? And I said, I think you probably have to wait till halfway through.
Yeah.
And guess what? The end of the season is halfway through. You also said, do you agree that he should be in the Norris conversation at some point during this contract? I said, yes, absolutely. And here we are. Now, 2024, 25, 26, 27, who the hell knows? He could go back to Erik Karlsson of 3 years ago, and that's another conversation. But, like,
I'm dying to see him do this back to back.
I just, man, and again, I hate to do, I hate whataboutism. I hate it so much, right?
Mm-hmm.
But, like, imagine if the Sharks had moved on from Brent Burns like a year or two earlier,
Oh, yeah, a little bit of a kick in the dick. But see, that's the other thing that I'm going to be interested to see under the Mike Greer model is because, I mean, look, I might be wrong, but we've talked about this before that it felt like a few times Doug Wilson just fell too in love with players. Should have gotten rid of Thornton early. Maybe should have gotten rid of Marlowe a little earlier. And yet then the one guy that I wanted him to keep, Pavelski, nope, fuck that guy.
And it's just, I think you make a really good point talking about, falling in love with the players, right? And, I'm not going to say that, like, I'm not going to stand here and say, oh my God, how could you fall in love with a player? Like, I completely understand it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they always say hockey is a business and it can be very cruel. And, like, you got to stick to that, right?
Yeah, I like John's comment. I think some of those EK65 turnovers late in the season might be Bedard related.
Hey, you know what? Couldn't you look at it that way too? Like, hey, he's he's kind of working on the inside. He's
inside baseball.
It's an inside job. I think the real, kind of thing to take a look at here as well, and we've talked about it so much before, but you say, okay, Brent Burns is no longer on the team. Well, what does that really mean, right? And
it means he doesn't play for the Sharks anymore.
Right. And we saw a lot of times, right, where Erik Karlsson, on a 2-minute power play, Erik Karlsson played all 2 minutes, which I'm perfectly okay with.
I'm okay with it, situationally, but there's definitely been a few times where I can't remember if it was in the Winnipeg game or the Calgary game or the Edmonton game this week, but there was one time where, like, he had been out there for almost 2 minutes, and then a play comes up high to him, and dude just blows right by him because he's gassed.
Sure.
So yeah, the situation has to dictate.
But I just think, and I think that's a solid point to make. But I also think there's something that's not really talked about a whole lot, despite what has been talked about, previously. But Erik Karlsson's shorthanded minutes per game, way down.
I was going to say, remember a couple seasons ago, he was saying, You know, I think I'm a good PKer. You guys might not see it or whatever, but and that was definitely something I noticed from Quinn, where he was like, no, you're not going to be playing any PK because we're going to be too busy burning you out on the power play. So
Right.
just
And
staple your ass to the bench.
yeah, and man, I wish it was, I wish that it was easy to find this information, but like, it's noticeable. Like it's to the, it's he's playing the same amount of time, more or less, right? Where I think last year to this year, his ice time per game, is only up it's only up 2 minutes, right? But despite only being up 2 minutes, he's probably played more than 2 minutes more of power play time this year because of how much shorthand time they've taken away.
Well, we'll see if Chief is still around here next season.
Mm-hmm.
I would imagine, I would hope that the team is going to be a little bit better next year. But one of the things, of course, I would like to see them focus on is drawing more than they have to kill. Yeah. And so if you have Karlsson out there with more opportunity, with more of a chance, if he can be out there more often in that situation where they're up a man, maybe that skews things, because you go and look, it wasn't horrible, the disparagement. It was, last I counted, the Sharks had 213 power plays. They killed 232 times. So it's we're talking a difference of only 19. But imagine 19 games where Karlsson is maybe the difference on a power play, if you flip those numbers.
Well, and so I found the information, and I'll just run through it really quick.
Well, you got their numbers.
So the four seasons before this one that we're breaking down, right? Minutes on the penalty kill. Okay, you with me?
Sure.
107, 166, 62, 74. Now keep in mind, none of those are a full season, right?
Of course.
That's minutes on the penalty kill. This year, it's a full season. So last year to this year, Erik Karlsson played 32 more games. And
half as many, if that. Yeah. I want to say it's like 20 minutes.
Yeah, he played 32 more games this year and was on the penalty kill 59% less than last year.
Shocker.
Yeah, 31 minutes on the penalty kill this year. 31 minutes in 82 games versus 74 minutes in 50 games a year ago.
Oh, see, there you go. So there's something you can say, okay, David Quinn knows what he's doing there.
Yeah, and again, a high offense defenseman, what an idea. Put him on the power play when you need offense. What an idea.
Shocker. I brought up Pavelski a minute ago. I should know, with his goal on Monday night, Pavelski became the third Sharks draft pick to reach 1,000 points, joining Ray Whitney and Patrick Marleau. San Jose is the only NHL team since 1991 to have 3 picks reach 1,000 points. So you got to stick tap the pickers on that one.
Yeah, I know my on-air persona is the shut up about Pavelski guy, but I mean, I remember
because my on-air persona is Pabs.
Right, but I mean you know this. I decide, and those of you younger may not remember this. 2008 playoffs, overtime against Dallas Stars, Pavelski scored the game-winning goal. I'm like, that guy is my favorite player.
Fucking A.
I love Joe Pavelski, and so seeing that, I think it's awesome. And I wish he could have done it as a Shark, but he didn't. And
dude, Jesse coming in hot with a nice take. Most of EK's PK minutes were after the deadline when we were at warm body level. Solid,
there you go.
Solid
Shout
call
out to Jesse.
Yeah. Let's get to the bet.
Oh,
it's
no.
finally over. And here was the bet. So Jerk won. We had a couple bets this year. Jerk won the first one where it was they had to win, so many games between they had to win at least 3 games between the 7th and 25th of February, which they did. So based on that, had to hand out Jerk a crispy $5. However, I got it back because my bet was from February 7th to the end of the season, they would not. You said that they would win 10 games. I said no. And they won 7. 7 out of 31, bro.
Honestly,
no wonder you were so jazzed about this being the end of the season.
Well, and the thing is, we know the Sharks are terrible. Like, nobody needs to explain that to us.
We knew.
But even in spite of that, I thought there would be more.
You've already said it. Like, you're based on just odds and statistics.
Yeah, just math, right? Just the mathematics of it all.
Oh man. So so we have a tiebreaker in the off season. We'll find out. I would imagine sometime in July. But so Jerk wins bet 1, I won bet 2, and the tiebreaker is me saying that EK will not be wearing a teal jersey this October, but Jerk says yes he will. So crispy fiver between now and either July. I mean, let's be honest. If Chief is still here in August, probably going to be here in October.
I wouldn't say.
Oh, maybe. Hey, you know what? It may take other teams a little longer to find their way. Who knows?
Well,
when did the Sharks get EK? Didn't they get him a week before camp or during camp?
Yeah, it was literally. Yeah, I think it was on media day.
Yeah, see, so there you go.
Because you remember,
I remember.
You remember. I think it was whoever, Shang or Pashelka, whichever the Kurz maybe. Chris Tierney's not at media day, and it's like, oh, what? And then. And that was that's what started it all. It was oh, we're being told there's some players not at media day, and it's like, well, that's weird.
Well, geez, watch what happens when one of them misses a team photo. Yikes!
Right.
Oh man. So through 82 games this season, Sharks 60 points, 8 home wins. Oof. Through 82 games last season, they had 77 points, so they actually went down 17 points this season.
Good.
Yeah, I mean,
this is the year to do it, right?
It's right where we want him. Are you not entertained? Versus in division, they only had 3 wins in their division. 1 versus Anaheim, but oddly enough, 3 OTLs. That was weird.
Is that odd?
I don't know. That felt a little weird, but Calgary got just decimated. 0-4.
Mm-hmm.
Edmonton, at least you pulled 1 point. You were 0-2-1. LA, same. Seattle, you actually had a win and a loss and an OTL. So you pulled 3 points from those 3 games, but you also gave Seattle the most goals they've ever gotten in a game. And Vancouver, 0-3-1, couldn't solve them. And then, bizarrely enough, the Pacific Division winning Vegas Golden Knights, you went 2-2. That's the weirdest goddamn thing ever. Oh my God. Let's finish off these stats for the end of the season. Scored first 43 times, 116. Had the lead a total of 55 times, 120. At home, and we're not counting the Prague game, even though it's a quote-unquote home, one of those is a home game. Scored first 19 times, 1-7. Had the lead a total of 25 times, 1-8. And if you dump the loser point, the Sharks would have 45 points and be at 25% for the number 1 pick. Goals for by period. 73 in the first period, 73-4, 82 against. Not horrible. In the second period, 75-4, 100 against. -25, dude. But in the third period, and this is the dick kicker, dude, 75-4, 112 against. For you math majors at home, that's -37. On the empty net side, they scored 11, allowed 21. Shorthanded side, the Sharks scored 4 shorties, allowed 13. So I think what we're trying to say here is the goalie sucked this year. You finish on the power play 26th, on the PK 6th, Face-off wins 14th. So right in the middle of the road for the face-off. That's about the same. But when you compare it to last year, power play this year 26th, last year 22nd. PK this season 6th. Last year finished 2nd. And face-off wins 14th, last year 17th. So and you talked about EK's numbers on even strength and everything, and it seemed to be like that's where things were good for San Jose for the most part. They were better 5-on-5, but the goaltending and the special teams went down the toilet.
Right.
And what kind of magnifies that is the fact that the blue line last season averaged 5.13 points per game. This year, 5.43. So, and it should be stated that before Timo left, they were about, I think it was a little better than half a point better. So once Timo left, obviously that number skewed down.
And speaking of points, really quick, I do want to correct myself. So,
sure.
With the season ending, Karlsson ended up 1 point behind McDavid for even strength points, so he did not have more than him. But
okay.
Even being one behind,
so, yeah, I was going to say it's still pretty goddamn impressive.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to where I was. Forwards, like I said, 5.13 points per game last season. This year, 5.43. But the blue line was the big one. Last season, 1.8 points per game came from the blue line. This year, 2.33. So more than a half a point better.
And we know why.
Yeah, and I was going to say, and thank you, Erik Karlsson.
I mean, I'd be curious to know, like, because Karlsson had 101 this year. If you did the math on this year with his point total from last year, I'd be curious to know what that would end up being,
Oh, man. Be interesting. Reimer, his last 5, he went 2-3-0 with an 857 and a 433. Kahkonen, his last 5 went 1-3-1, a 905, 357. And you also have to take into account over the season, both of these Chiefs were pulled twice.
Jesus.
I mean, well, dude, do you remember, was it Jones's last season where he was literally averaging getting pulled every 4th game?
Yeah. And even that, I think, is being generous.
Yeah, it might have been like 3.89 games, if you like do all the math. Oh my lord, that's some suckage. But
speaking of suckage, really quick, I did the math, and if Erik Karlsson this year scored as many points as he did last year, the points from the blue line would be 1.52 points per game, which is less than last year.
Jesus.
So I think that, again, if you want to, say, here's some Norris Trophy Kool-Aid, like, I think that's another it's another
right.
cup, I think.
Oh, dude, you're so right. On the season, Reimer finished 12, 21, and 8 with an 890 and a 3.48 goals against. Kahkonen, 9, 20, and 7. 883 save percentage, 3.85 goals against. McIniemi only had 1 game started. He did come in to spell somebody at one point, but he had a 906 with a 2.13. And Aaron Dell, same. Game started 3, but games played 4, so he spelled somebody. But he, of course, finishes with the best at a .913 and a 2.71 goals against. Yikes. I mean, we have, we're just over the top of the hour. We kind of have a fork in the road, and I don't know if we let the audience decide or let you decide or whatever. We can either move on to the epilogue, or we can talk about the NHL playoffs and a couple other things along with the Barracuda before the epilogue, or we just do the epilogue now. What do you say?
I muted myself.
I was going to say, you go take a leak. What happened? Make a sandwich?
No, I think let's, the epilogue is the reason why they're here.
All right,
so
let's move
I think we do it last.
Oh shit! Okay, look at you. Like,
yeah, let's get the boring stuff out of
Let's clickbait the hell out of it. All right, so let's move on around the NHL. This is the first time neither Ovi or Crosby are going to be in the playoffs since 2007.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, 16 seasons ago, has the baton finally been passed to Matthews and McDavid?
I would say no.
We're not there yet.
Because Ovechkin's chasing the record, right? And
Surely.
Washington, is retooling on the fly, which, I mean, survey says it looks good for them so far, I would think, going into next year. And then, I mean, Crosby is Crosby, right? And whether they like it or not, Pittsburgh, they're married to those big three there, Crosby, Malkin, and Letang. They're not just going to go away.
And didn't they just give Malkin an extension like before this season?
Malkin and Letang both got extensions last summer. Last summer was the time to pull the trigger on a rebuild, and they didn't do it. So,
got to know when to rebuild your rebuild.
Right, and they already said, they've already, and granted things can change, but they've already come out and said, like, our goal is for Crosby to retire as a Penguin, right?
Yeah.
So,
well, and Pittsburgh cleaned house, right?
Yeah, fired the president of hockey ops, fired the GM, fired the AGM. Here's the real curious thing, okay? And you know how it is with the the organizational hierarchy of a hockey team. You're obviously familiar.
Mm-hmm.
The coach, Mike Sullivan, the head coach, is on the search committee for the new GM. Have you ever heard of a scenario where you have a say in who your boss is?
Yeah, no.
And Mike Sullivan, he just got an extension, and he's obviously very revered in that market. But it is interesting that like you're having a hand in picking your boss.
That's a little odd.
I think that just speaks to the cachet he has.
Whoa, I know words.
Whoa.
Anaheim fired Dallas Eakins. I think he had a really good run there, and it's too bad things didn't turn out for him because you remember he got promoted from San Diego.
Yeah, he had some real good seasons there.
Yeah, had some very good seasons, but it's like, do you think his like luck kind of ran out because when he came in, he knew everything that he had in the system and who to call up, and so it was kind of like he knew how to like count cards. And then,
right.
And then a few seasons go by, and all of a sudden he doesn't know like the freshman down below, and all of a sudden it's like, oh shit.
Well, and I think, it's important to note as well here that he wasn't fired. His contract expired and it wasn't renewed, right? And so I kind of feel like this is a situation, rightly or wrongly, Anaheim thinks that, okay, this is our time to like step up and try and be good. We're going to get our real coach now.
Oh,
well, and that's not to say anything about Dallas Eakins, because to your point, again, similar to Mike Sullivan in Pittsburgh, very revered within that organization, had some good seasons with the San Diego Gulls, right? I mean, we remember 2017, the Gulls and the Barracuda had many a bloodbath against each other. But, and I think, not to put the cart before the horse, but I do wonder when the Sharks' eventual turnaround begins, I wonder if the same kind of thing is going to happen,
Mm-hmm.
There's a certain Ryan Warsofsky just kind of
sitting in the wings.
Yeah, waiting in his makeup chair, So
well, it's kind of like Bugner with DeBoer,
Right.
Oh, man. The NHL announced the Global Series will make its way down under this September, I'm sure much to the delight of Like a Tiger.
Well, so he was saying that, I guess, which if you're not in the Discord server, you really should be. He was sharing his thoughts in the server that I guess tickets for that game, it's like
are they ridiculous?
Like 500 500 Australian, which is about $330 in US dollars. And he said, he was like, I'm not paying $500 Australian to go see the fucking Coyotes.
Yeah.
So
I feel like this will be
a good point.
Yeah, no, I feel like this will be the first time the Coyotes will be the home team in a sold out full size arena since the Bush administration.
Right. Well,
it's been a minute.
Well, and not only that, but it gets to a situation, right? And I, off the top of my head, I don't know what flying out of Australia is like, but to get one of these packages, because he would have to, I don't know where Tiger lives, but I know he would have to travel for this game, and then you have to buy a ticket to the game. Like, at what point is the cost similar to just fly to San Jose and go to a game?
You right?
And I don't know, Australia to Bay Area, I have no idea, but it's something I would look into.
I was going to say, I think it's somewhere in the neighborhood of like 18 to 20 hour flight.
No, I'm just talking about I'm
But
talking
the
about
cost.
dollars.
Yeah. But still, it's still a lot of time. Another thing that came out this week, not necessarily hockey related, but TSN put out an article that said the NBA had fined the Dallas Mavericks, $750,000, saying that they undermined the integrity of our sport, saying the Dallas Mavericks' decision to restrict key players from fully participating in an elimination game last Friday against Chicago undermined the integrity of our sport. So my point being is coaches and players don't tank, but the guys making roster decisions up above certainly can. Just saying. So playoff matchups. Playoffs? Don't talk to me about playoffs. Playoffs. So here we go. Everything starts tomorrow. Here are your matchups. You can see dates and times and in channels and all that stuff. Jerk and I, we can blow through our picks real quick here. But the first thing I do want to point out, though, the East right now, you can see it on the screen, but we have people listening audio only. Boston versus Florida, Tampa versus Toronto, Carolina versus New York Islanders, and New York Rangers versus the Devils, which, for those of you unaware, is a 14-mile drive. So fans from both teams, pretty easy to make that jaunt and go see both.
I mean, if you're a Devils fan who prior to this year made the playoffs once in 10 years, do you not try and scoop up tickets to all 4 of those first games?
Oh, hell yeah.
You know, the 2 in New Jersey and then the 2 in Manhattan.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, dude, you're going to Prudential and the Square either way.
Yeah, if I was a Devils fan, I would be trying to get tickets to games 1 through 4, hit them all, and just have a time.
But it should be noted, though, if we go to 1 through 8, the matchups between with Boston, Florida, Carolina, and Islanders stay the same, but it would change to Tampa Bay versus New Jersey and Toronto versus New York. I got to tell you, I like the idea of Toronto versus New York in the first round. I like Jersey versus Tampa in the first round. I like the 1 through 8 matchups better. Now, on the West side, the change West side, it changes exponentially. You keep Vegas and Winnipeg as it stands right now. Edmonton versus LA, Colorado versus Seattle, Dallas versus Minnesota. However, if you go 1 through 8, all of a sudden it's VGK and Winnipeg, as it still is, but every other matchup would change. You'd have Edmonton versus Seattle. I like that matchup, especially when you bring into account that how much closer Seattle is to Edmonton versus LA. Colorado versus Minnesota over Colorado versus Seattle. I think that's kind of negligible.
Well, so here, let me interject here.
Yeah.
One of my friends is a
You
Minnesota
don't
Wild.
have friends. Stop it.
One of my friends is a Minnesota Wild fan, and according to him, from the perspective of the Minnesota Wild, Colorado is their LA Kings. So
really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think Minnesota, if they were to go under a different format and it ended up being Minnesota Colorado, I think that would be from Colorado. I can't say if Colorado fans feel that way about Minnesota, but if you're looking for I don't want to say a bloodbath, but if you're looking for some more intrigue,
yeah, I
think that would be the route. But even then, Minnesota. I mean, we talked about it. What was it, last week or 2 weeks ago?
I like the idea of Dallas, Minnesota because of the the history between the franchises.
Yeah, it was tight.
Tight.
I will say this though.
But here's what I also like though, dude. Dallas versus LA, if it's 1 through 8, tell me you don't have fun as a Sharks fan looking at the whole DeBoer versus T-Mac.
That would be kind of cool to see,
right?
But we could still get that,
yeah.
And I think to the point that you were making, I hate to like do this because I do agree with you about the playoff format, but I do think the current playoff format, I think, has created some intriguing matchups this year. I mean, LA Edmonton is going to be really interesting to see because if you remember last year, LA had Edmonton on the ropes and they squandered it. And so that's going to be interesting to see them run it back. Same thing with Toronto and Tampa Bay. Toronto had Tampa Bay on the ropes. They squandered it. So I want to see that run back. And
Toronto
then obviously
squanders the lead. What breaking news.
Right. And then seeing Rangers versus Devils, that's a very, very deep rivalry, as you and I know. I mean, the year the Devils went to the Stanley Cup final in 2012, they played the Rangers in the conference final, so there is some playoff history there. So, I do agree with you. I think the previous format is significantly better, but this current format has also provided some intriguing matchups, to say the least.
Are you willing to share your bracket?
Yeah, I don't care. Go for it.
All right. Let's do it. Let's start.
Do you need me to pull it up for you, or are we just gonna vocalize it? Or
dude, I'm you see me right here?
Okay.
I got my shit.
So I was not. I didn't know who I am unsure was. I got to be honest.
Yeah. Well, dude, come on. That was one of the best gags ever. So for me, we'll start on the Eastern side. Boston in 5.
Whew. Yeah, I'm pulling up mine right now. I want to see what I said.
And everybody that's watching right now, share yours on the Boston, Florida. Who you taking? How many games? Get it in the chat, people. Let's see where we match up at.
And here, I'm going to do this as well if I can figure out how to navigate this damn thing.
But yeah.
Okay.
I got Boston. Boston in 5.
So if you have not joined already, I'm sharing the link to join the Teal Town USA Bracket Challenge League. It's in the YouTube chat.
It's in the YouTube chat, but for those listening on, delay and for those listening to audio, it is the pinned tweet on the Teal Town Twitter. So if you want to jump in and have some fun with us on the NHL brackets, you can find it right there.
And the password is Pucknologists1, no spaces, no capitals, and that's the number 1.
There you go.
Okay, back to it. So you said Boston in 5.
I said Boston in 5. We have a lot of people in the chat saying 6, 7. Marchand's nose wins it. 5, 4. Couple sweeps. What say you?
I also said Boston in 5.
Oh, nice. All right, so we agree.
Good. I mean, obviously, historical.
Bad for the show, but
right. His historical team for one, but then also Florida spent everything they had to get to the playoffs.
Yeah.
And I just don't think they have anything left.
Well,
personally,
the fact that they're facing a team that set the league record in points.
Yeah,
they're rolling, dude. Allmark is rested, bro. He's only played 48 games this year.
Well, yeah, and that's because when Allmark's not going, they got Jeremy Swayman.
You mean future Sharks, Jeremy Swayman?
Hey, fingers crossed, future Shark Jeremy Swayman. Is just he, as a backup goalie, he's got a cool, casual 921 save percentage,
dude, like a cucumber.
And that's not inflated. Jeremy Swayman is actually a good goalie, but I digress.
All right, Toronto versus Tampa. I'll let you go first on this one.
So last year when you asked me this question, I said don't sleep. I said don't count out Tampa. They're the sleeping giant.
You were correct.
This year I'm counting out Tampa. I feel like it's been said every year, but I really truly feel like this year is the Maple Leafs year, just because they in this little 6-year span they've been making the playoffs. They've never loaded up like they have this year. Mm-hmm. They've never had a good skill of a good mix of skill and physicality like they do this year. And this is the ICU's worst, very, very loosely, the worst Tampa team we've seen since they missed the playoffs in 2017.
Yeah. Do you have games or are you just going Toronto?
Yeah, Leafs in 7.
Dude, are you copying my bracket? I literally have the same thing.
Good.
All right. We go to Islanders versus Carolina. This is another one. Everybody, share yours in the chat. A lot of people looks like Toronto is the favorite for that one, although we got a couple Tampas. Islanders, Carolina. A lot of people are saying this could be the upset series. I mean, you can't count out Sorokin.
No, you cannot.
So who's your, or are we going to go back to me? We'll go back to me.
You go back to you. That's fine.
And again, Sorokin can't out. I have Islanders in 7, and the whole thing is, my bracket's already filled out.
Yep.
So it's I'm not bullshitting here and just going, okay, what does Lacey say in the chat? So yeah, I've got Isles in 7. What say you?
I said Isles in 7.
Holy shit, dude! We literally have the same bracket through 3 matchups.
For 2 reasons. For 2 reasons. I'm sorry. For 3 reasons. Number 1, one of Carolina's best players is done for the year, not playing. Number 2. Carolina's goaltending, despite the fact they have 3 goalies who have done well this year, I'm not overly hyped on what their goaltending is all about. And number 3, I think the way that the New York Islanders play, their style of play, I think is much more successful in the playoffs than in the regular season. I truly think that the Islanders have what it takes to grind the Hurricanes down.
I like it. To me, I was just kind of, when it comes down to kind of like a tie on all angles, I always sit there and go, who's the goalie?
Right.
And, and I'm like, Sorokin's killing it. So
I was going to say, dude, Ilya Sorokin, like I exposing myself. Are
you trying to say like Vezina sneaker?
Well, no, I wouldn't say he's a sneaker, because I think he's legitimately a really, really good goalie, and he's going to win a Vezina trophy at some point. But like,
yeah, but
you
were stroking Allmark hard halfway through.
Well, and rightfully so. And again, I don't want to expose anybody here, but a couple of the Teal Town ballots didn't even have Ilya Sorokin on there, and
You're not talking about me, are you?
No, of course.
Oh,
not.
Okay.
And I'm just like, man, that is a choice, because.
Well, dude, I'm dying to see what this. Any of the Teal Town people that have access to the ballot that haven't filled it out, hurry the fuck up, man! I want to see this thing. I'm dying to see.
I just like you said, look at the goalie, Fred, whether it's Frederik Andersen or who the hell is Jesus, Antti Ranta or Kochetkov on Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
I take Ilya Sorokin over any of those 3 guys. I think I take Ilya Sorokin over, any of the goalies in the Eastern Conference, except for and that's not to say that he's better than Vasilevsky or better than Shesterkin or better than Ullmark or Swayman, but I just think, the way he plays, there's just something about it, and he's like, I don't know the exact, vocabulary of the record, but he set like a shutout record earlier this season. It was like most shutouts within a span of games or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, man, way too many people are sleeping on this guy.
Dude. Okay. Let's move on. Jersey and the Rangers.
I said the Devils in 6. Don't tell me you said that too.
That's exactly what I said.
Oh my god!
Are you
fucking
looking
at my ballot,
dude? Dude. You can see my screen.
Yes.
Right. This was the screenshot. Okay,
yeah.
Dude.
Yeah,
I have Devils in 6. Oh my god, that is so funny. This was the one that I thought we were gonna like disagree on. This is the one I thought you were gonna have the Rangers like in 7. Oh, dude. How fucked up is that going to be to see, because aren't we all like, look, the Sharks fans this season, we don't have a lot to root for, but weren't you kind of rooting for like Carolina versus Jersey in the second round so you could see Timo versus Brent,
No.
Okay, fuck him. All right, so how the hell did we not only agree on every team, but the amount of games? Dude, that is creepy.
I just think when it comes to Devils versus Rangers, Shesterkin is the best goalie in that series, no doubt.
Yes,
but
absolutely agree.
I think the forwards on the Devils versus the Rangers, the Devils forwards I think just have more pop to their game. You look at the Rangers top 6. A third of their top 6 are rentals, right? And they're good players. But it's not full of homegrown talent like the Devils. And I know
steal all the players from Chicago.
Right, and I know Timo Meier is not a homegrown talent for the Devils, but safe to assume he's going to be there for a while, right?
Yeah.
And regardless of what you think about these players, just in a vacuum, within the scope of this year, I'm taking Dougie Hamilton over Adam Fox. Just within the scope of this year.
Sure.
Within the scope of this year.
In the chat, we have Devils in 7, Jersey in 5, Devils in 7. Ian coming in saying Rangers in 6. Trey, Devils in 6. Jersey
is this the most polarizing series so far in the chat?
It feels like it, yeah. Devils 6, Jersey 7, Rangers in 6.
Here's the thing, though.
Hard to bet against Igor with a shaky netminder.
Fair, that's fair.
Rangers is stacked as a can of Pringles, but got to go with New Jersey because of Timo.
Well, and here's the thing. Of the 4 series in the Eastern Conference that we've talked about, this is the only one where if it went the opposite of what I predicted, I wouldn't be all that surprised. Right?
Completely agree with you. And Ryan saying Devils Rangers might end up being the best series in the first round. I would, look. I don't know. Devils Minnesota piques my interest. I would say it could be the best in the. Well, I don't know, man. Tampa Bay and Toronto might be fun too. But anyway,
I just think, we had brought up the point, I think it was a couple weeks ago, where with the exception of Florida, every Eastern Conference playoff team swung big at the trade deadline.
Yeah.
And so you have to think that it's just going to be a a real massacre in that Eastern Conference.
Dude, don't think that I didn't consider that a sweep. I may go back and have to adjust my bracket.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to the West Side. West Side! Vegas, Winnipeg. Again, this is a series that some people said is begging for an upset. And, sir, on my bracket, I have Winnipeg in 7.
Wow.
Hella buck, dude.
Yeah,
Hellebuck could hella fuck the Vegas Golden Knights.
Yeah, it's hard to bet against Connor Hellebuck. I will give you that point. But
all the listeners right now, get your Vegas Winnipeg picks in the chat, please.
I just think, again, it's hard to bet against Hellebuck, and I do like a lot of the players that Winnipeg has. On forward, Morrissey? On defense. I really truly like a lot of the.
Dude,
I really truly like a lot of the players that Winnipeg has, but just, like I was mentioning earlier, the way that they've seemed really discombobulated all year, like it just, I don't have a lot of confidence in them unless Connor Hellebuck has multiple shutouts in this series, right?
I hear you on that, but I feel like that San Jose game when he fucking called out everybody, it seems like they kind of turned things around a little bit. Dude, sure. I'm sure our buddy Jewels, dude, she'd be calling like Vegas in 3.
I mean, I have Vegas in 5.
Whew. As does Ian, I believe. Yeah, he also Lacey has Knights in 6. But yeah, I'm seeing it, dude. A lot of Vegas 6, Vegas 5, Vegas 6. Dude, Avocado. Everybody needs a hero, dude. He says Jets in 4.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing, right? Is the Winnipeg Jets have talent. Nobody's doubting that. But I think mentally, I talked about it earlier. Mentally, I think they're very fragile.
Yeah, that's it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. So, seeing Nick,
I like how
Winnipeg 7, Trey, Winnipeg 7, Lacey, I might have picked 5. Jets in 6 from Hot Wheels. I don't like how Winnipeg finished from Ian. Go ahead.
I love how and this is not meant to blast anybody. I'm just pointing out something that's funny. Nick Cooper in the chat agrees with you, which is awesome.
Yeah. Doesn't happen very often.
instead of saying AJ, I agree, or I agree with AJ, they said agree with AJ actually. As if that's
the first time it's
really
ever happened.
Profound or something.
Love it. All right. LA at Edmonton in the first round. Where are you going here?
I really wanted to pick LA because I like what they've done.
Sure.
But I just think the high-end talent on Edmonton is much better than LA, and I think Edmonton is going to take care of LA again this year in 7.
Okay. You want to talk hero?
Don't tell me you said LA in anything less than 6.
Dude, I said Edmonton in 4.
Wow.
Yeah. I have, dude, I think Edmonton,
That's a choice.
dude, because I just think Edmonton's power play.
Yeah,
And
but you don't get a lot of power plays in the playoffs, though.
We'll see what happens, dude. But in Skinner's stash, I believe in Skinner's stash. But yeah, dude, I'm a hero on that one, dude. Oilers in 4. That's the only sweep that I have. Now, after talking to you and everything, I might have to go in and adjust my bracket and be like, okay, I'm going to switch. Right now I have Boston in 5, Edmonton in 4. I might have to flip those numbers.
And here's the thing. I think depth, I think LA's depth is actually on forward. I think LA's depth is better than Edmonton's, right? But Edmonton's high-end talent is better. Edmonton's goaltending is better, at least for this year. You can have a conversation about, generally speaking.
Yeah.
So I just think, some people may argue that LA is a better team than Edmonton, but Edmonton does the razzle dazzle better than LA.
Oh, yeah.
And that's kind of what the first round is all about, is the razzle dazzle.
And the home ice and everything.
Yeah, it really doesn't become a chess match until round 2, I think.
Well, let me ask you this: who do you think Evander Kane bet on to win this one?
Oh, jeez. The other thing is
what it is.
It's going to be very. I'm just very interested to see how that one plays out, right? Because, they traded Jonathan Quick at the deadline because it wasn't working out for them.
Sure.
And they kind of put all their eggs on the Jonas Korpisalo, Phoenix Copley basket, right? And you know what? Since they brought in Korpisalo and ran with him and Copley, LA played better towards the end of the season. I'm curious to know how long that lasts, though. You know what I mean? Because as you pointed out, Stuart Skinner has played very, very well, and you were talking about heroes a couple minutes ago.
Dude, I was talking about Skinner last season.
Right. And you want to talk about heroes, right? So on the Teal Town USA ballot, 7 people have sent in their picks, and only one of them has said Stuart Skinner is the Calder choice. And it's me.
Oh, hey now. Oh, dude, we have breaking news.
Real breaking news or fake breaking
news? This is real breaking news. Just tweeted out. This is pretty fucking cool for me. You might not care for it. I like it.
Okay.
Breaking. Randy Hahn and Brett Hedican will be announcing games 3 and 4 between Dallas and Minnesota on TBS. Jonathan Becker just tweeting that out now. Hey, love to hear a familiar voice, and the slobbering that Randy will do over Pavelski. I look forward to it.
Far out.
But, hey, it's friendly voices, at least one of them. The other one wants to meet me at the bike racks. It's fine. Oh, man. All right. Where are we? So you said Vegas, right?
Yeah, I said Vegas in 5.
Vegas in 5. I said Winnipeg in 7. Okay, so that's the first one we disagree on. We both agree that Edmonton will beat LA.
Yeah, I said 7. You said 5.
Okay. No, I said 4, but I may change it before it starts.
Man, 4. That's a choice, dude.
Dude, that's a hero move, dude. Hero.
Do you want to put a 5er? I don't even care who wins. Do you want to put a 5er on that series being longer than 4 games?
Let's talk offline.
Okay. I don't even care who wins.
we have a lot more to get to. All right, Seattle at the Avalanche. You went first last time, so I'll go first this time. I really debated hard on whether to call this a sweep or not. So Seattle finished terribly, and Martin Jones is still on their roster. So I have Colorado in 5, and it would be 4 if Landeskog and Makar was still here.
Right. Well,
it would be fucking 3.
Well, and you saw that Landeskog's not going to play it all this year.
Exactly.
Right?
So that's why I'm saying, hopefully Makar is back quickly, but I've got Colorado. Even with all of that, I think the weight of the moment and everything like that, and the fact that they're playing the Cup winners who have that championship blood right now, Colorado in 5.
So I also said Colorado in 5. I
Fuck
think
you, dude.
I think this year I think the Kraken are a good story.
They
are.
They are.
But I don't see them having what it takes to get past the Avalanche, just because you mentioned the goaltending, and again I think I think Seattle actually has good depth, like underratedly good depth.
But Donato's still there.
Right, but they don't have, they don't really have like 100-point superstar, right? I mean, not yet. Matty Beniers is going to be there eventually.
Oh, hell yeah.
But they don't have that 100-point superstar yet. I think this is a really good preamble for them, and I think if they lose in the first round, I think they'll be happy to be there, truthfully. But here's the other thing, the caveat. So, you remember before he went to Seattle, Philip Grubauer was on the Avalanche, had a couple Vezina caliber seasons with the Avalanche. Avalanche didn't want to pay him money, and so they traded for Darcy Kemp. They traded for Darcy Kemper and said, sorry, Philip Grubauer, you were good, but we don't want to pay you. And that said, since Grubauer has been in Seattle, he hasn't played all that well. It's been actually terrible for Grubauer in Seattle.
Yeah.
But I wonder, playing his former team, the team he almost won a Vezina trophy with, and didn't want to pay him, I wonder if that gets his dander up at all.
Oh, yeah, dude. You're going to be juiced. All right.
And I like Philip Grubauer, so I think
but
it'll be really interesting, the one game Seattle wins.
Well, okay, what's your bottom? So you got Colorado in 5?
Yep.
All right. Jesus. Fuck, dude.
I think it just shows how smart we are. I don't know why you're shocked.
Well, no, because when it comes to hockey, I will readily admit, and you research, you do way more work than I do. So the fact that our East, again, not only that the picks, but the amount of games are completely identical blows my mind. So, and then you have Vegas. So there we differ. We both have Edmonton. We both have Colorado. Dallas, Minnesota. Okay, this could get fun. Who you got there, sir? Everybody listening, if you have access to the chat, please, we'd love to know your takes. Dallas or Minnesota in how many games? I see Lacey's already in. Stars in 7. Jerk, what say you?
Dallas Stars in 6.
Sir, can you please stop looking at my bracket? Dude, I cannot believe how much we have matched up. That is insane.
Here's the thing. You want to, we'll probably get into it.
And my whole thing is, let me hit the chat real quick. We got Stars in 7, Stars in 5, Stars in 6, Stars in 7, Wild in 6. Nick is a hero. Ian, Dallas in 6, Avocado, Dallas in 5, Kevin, Dallas in 7, TOBT, Dallas in 5. Hot Wheels is a hero. Minnesota in 7, Phipps, Stars in 6, Bozo, Dallas 6. So a lot of people. Holy shit. Ian has Dallas coming out of the West. The same West that has oh, you mean to play for the cup?
Yep.
Oh shit. Okay, let's get to that then real quick.
Yeah.
Give me your cup final.
Dallas versus the cup final, yeah?
Yeah, just the teams.
Dallas versus Boston.
Nice. I have
the Tyler Seguin Bowl.
I like it. Dude, I have Oilers Bruins.
If it makes you feel any better, I have the Oilers going to the Western Conference Final.
Maybe it'll make you feel better. I'm fine with it.
I just think and again, the Western Conference
what has you what has you thinking that Dallas is going to be Edmonton in the conference final?
Well,
hold on. What's the hockey guy special? Who does he have? I give a shit, but I'm just wondering. He watches a lot of hockey.
So I think so. Here's what I think. I think the goaltending is better, right?
For Boston,
yes. No.
You're right. No, Edmonton and what did we say? Edmonton
and Dallas.
So okay, Dallas has Otter. Okay, sure.
Yes. And again, Stuart Skinner has played well this year.
Dude, that stash is something to write home.
Right. In a vacuum, I think Ottinger is better than Stuart Skinner. Here's the other thing. Number two. Number 2, Dallas's top line, Robertson, Rope Hintz, and Joe Pavelski.
Who?
Best 5-on-5 line in the league.
Yeah.
Best 5-on-5 line in the league. Number 3, the old guard, Jamie Benn, Tyler Seguin, they've come around. They've, found a way to kind of, kick it into that extra year. Jamie Benn has had a career resurgence, which has been huge for them.
Dig it.
I like, you looking at number 1 defenseman. I love Matthias Ekholm for Edmonton. Don't get me wrong. I love Matthias Ekholm. I like Miro Heiskanen a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
And Dallas has gotten contributions from their rookies. Wyatt Johnston, Ty Dellandrea. These are guys, even Nils Lundqvist, not as much as I think he wants, but a good season from him. So
I think the question that I should have asked you, how the hell does Dallas get by Colorado?
Depth.
All right. I dig it. This was fun, man. This is a lot of fun, dude. I can't believe how close our brackets were. That blows me away. Man,
Yeah.
that was so cool.
And it's funny. Like, I feel confident about my bracket every year, but every year I'm wrong, to a degree. Except for I think last year I picked all the series correct except for one, but still. I had the right last year. I predicted the right cup final, so.
Yeah, I've pulled that one out of my ass once in a while, but anyway.
I'll tell you this as an aside. I'm still mad about the 2015 playoffs. I'm not. Let me finish.
Yeah,
I'm not exaggerating when I say this. I'm being 100% honest. Had I not been so high on what the Ottawa Senators were doing in 2015, had I used my brain instead of my heart,
oh yeah,
I probably would have won that travel package prize.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So if you're wondering who I'm rooting for, at least in the first round, I mean, let me stretch this out a little bit. Okay. Anywho, there is another team in San Jose we should get to for a quick minute before we move on to the epilogue.
Ooh, Barracuda.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. I mean, at least the CUDA finished strong. Picked up a couple of wins in Tucson. They went 2-0. Gushin, 2 goals and an assist. Agazino, 1 goal, 2 assists. Frisch has 2 assists. Agazino setting a franchise record for points in a season with 59, at least in that first game. He would increase it in the second. Mann would save 34 of 37. In the second game, it's a 4-2 victory. Gushin, boom, goal and an assist again. Agazino piles on with 2 assists. Chris Guolo, 1 goal, 1 assist. Mann stops 22 of 24. So Agazino, I believe that means he finishes with 61. And yeah, franchise record. Love to see it. CUDA finish 31, 34, 2-5. 8th in the Pacific Division. Somehow just barely outside of the playoffs when Jerk told me just before we went on that everybody except the Barracuda evidently made it to the playoffs.
Pretty much, honestly.
That's what it felt like. Ay. But Ian and Lacey will have a proper CUDA wrap-up for you with voice of the Barracuda, Nick Nolenberger, this Wednesday. So make sure you check that out. But the way it finishes off, Agazino, dude, it's the Ago show. 26 goals, 35 assists, 61 points. That's the way Chief finishes the season. Dell posts a .898 save percentage, 3.14 goals against. McAniemi, a little bit better, 900 save percentage, 2.96 goals against. Man, you would have hoped it would have ended a little bit better. .894, a 3.32 goals against. So he was actually the bottom of the tree on that one. I don't know. Strauss, I got a lot of hope for you, man. But anyway, again, Ian and Lacey will have the proper CUDA wrap-up for you with Nick Nolenberger this Wednesday, so make sure you check that out. Find out what the future of the franchise is coming to in San Jose. All right, let's do our tweet of the week, and then we'll get to the epilogue. And I have some things to say, as I tend to do. Bo Horvat evidently set the fucking world on fire when he was interviewed after the Islanders, they clinched I think is what it was. And
yeah, I believe so.
And whoever it was said, hey, what a feeling this must be, blah, blah, blah. And he said, yeah, he said something along the lines of, better than Vancouver.
Yeah, because they asked him like, oh, what was the fan atmosphere like?
Yeah. And so anyway, and I think he was just, a little gamesmanship, if you will, or whatever. But the fact that this dude had to come back, you sit here, you can see it on the screen. It's Bo Horvat saying it was kind of a heat of the moment thing. I didn't mean any disrespect to the fans of Vancouver, my teammates, or the city of Vancouver. It wasn't directed at them at all. The fans were all excited, and I was excited to be in a playoff push, and just one of those things where my emotions got the best of me. This, again, and Jerk and I kind of talked about this a little bit offline. Dude, I'm just, the media complains that players, they don't show any personality, but then we vilify them for a relatively benign comment that they sensationalized for clickbait. Was it Friedman who kind of like called out his brethren to say, stop making big fucking deals over little things.
Right. I just think and I thought it was kind of funny too, how the commentator for the Islanders was like, well, he knows where he's going to be playing for the next 8 years.
I just got like, oh man, can we just stop the whole clickbait thing? That it's literally why the players show no personality, because they do any little thing and you guys are going to blow it out. The other thing, Sunday ticket prices, for those of you the football people, Sunday ticket prices were released this week. And, you're going to need a YouTube subscription to watch the NFL, or an Amazon subscription to watch a different NFL game, or an ESPN Plus subscription to watch some other hockey. I mean, I'll be the first to admit it. I got tired of subsidizing channels that I never watched. I hated, paying for DirecTV and seeing like $400 through $4.99 was foreign language stuff. I'm like, I don't want to subsidize that. People should absolutely have access to it. If I was in Mexico, if I was in Japan, and they said, oh, you want access to American channels or whatever, yeah, that there's going to be a little bit of extra you have to pay, I would totally understand that. It bums me out that I have to subsidize channels that people don't watch, and that doesn't sit with just foreign language shit. Dude, do you know how many people watch Home Shopping Network? Right. I think you could probably fit them all inside of TechCU, but we all have to subsidize that shit. So, I never watched that. I was happy to cut the cord, but I want to know, how do you grow the game when fans have to jump through hoop after hoop, pay for multiple subscriptions to watch a game? And, when are fans just going to be like, you know what? I'm tired of this shit. I'm tired of being priced out. I'm tired of having to jump through hoops. Fuck this. I'm going to start watching soccer. I'm going to something else. I mean, and the thing is, like it or not, we live in a world where illegal streaming is not only a tempting option, it's a lot fucking easier to do. And it makes you wonder, would those streaming options exist if fans could find games easily and at a reasonable price? We all saw what happened 20 years ago with the music industry. Everybody went to LimeWire and Napster and all of that. And then what happened? Apple said, oh, here is all the music you want, solid quality, reasonable price. Here you go. And that was it. He fucking solved it. Mm-hmm. We need the same for when it comes to, sports stuff. Because, dude, flying that pirate flag is pretty fucking easy.
Well, and I like that, I like that the sports networks have, they've made it so that these sports packages are part of something where it's like, yeah, a lot of people would have this, for example, the NHL package is part of the Disney bundle. A lot of people have the Disney bundle. That's not to say that everybody does.
Sure.
But a lot of people have the Disney bundle with, you're talking about the NFL, with, a lot of people. And I'll say that this is not a brand deal by any stretch, mm-hmm. but we have YouTube TV here. You have YouTube TV.
Yes.
Phenomenal provider.
Fantastic. The only thing that sucks is latency. That's it.
Right. And so I would say if you're, if you were on the fence and you say, well, YouTube TV seems cool, but I'm not sure, this is your sign to get it. But a lot of people have YouTube TV. So the NFL package is now rolled into that. Same thing with Major League Baseball. A lot of people have Amazon Prime. Well, guess what? A lot of baseball games are on Amazon Prime.
That's what I'm saying. You've got baseball games every Friday on Apple.
Right. And so I do understand what you're saying. And for a lot of reasons, I do agree with you that it feels like it's become more difficult to figure out when these games are on. But at the same time, I think at least there's an effort to say, hey, you know what? Yeah, we're going to a new platform, but it's a platform that a lot of people have.
Yeah. Well, and it just needs to get to that point where, maybe the NHL app, if you will, needs to expand. Needs to become its own kind of a channel and everything like that. I want to finish up, and then I got to get to some comments here.
Yeah. And, I just, and even, Kevin Lacey, he was asking, like, the Sharks, when they played against the Calgary Flames, he's like, what channel is this damn game on?
Exactly.
And it's and that definitely is a problem where, like, sometimes it's hard to figure out after the game has started. Before the game it's different, but after the game has started, it's really hard to figure out what channel it's on.
Yeah, and at what point do you just go, fuck it, I'm watching something else?
Yeah.
You got to make it easy. Marty T, I don't know if this is meant for me. Napster was a wee bit before Apple Music. Yeah, that's literally what I said.
But even then, same thing. Like Apple Music and Spotify, like when those came out, like remember how many people bitched about it at first? Oh my God, I'm
just talking about the iTunes store.
No, I know, but what I'm saying is when Apple Music and Spotify first came out, there was a lot of uproar where it's like, well, this is new and I don't understand it and I don't want to do it.
And future's now, old man.
No, but it's like, but now, dude, like Spotify, I've had Spotify for 10 years. It's so easy.
Yeah. That's the whole thing. It all comes down to ease of use. Bozos, haven't heard LimeWire in like 20 years. Anyone remember Winamp? Sure, it kicks the llama's ass. It kicks the llama's ass, baby. Whew. All right. I like having Extendamix to watch Serato. Jesus Christ. Okay, we're gonna get onto a DJ podcast in the summer. We'll do that later. All right. So it is. Are you ready for the epilogue?
I'm as ready as I can be.
I was going to say, because, dude, we literally gave everybody the choice an hour ago. And now we're here. You poor bastards. So let's start with some good. In fact, you know what? Let's take the nonsense off of the scroll, right? And we're just going to say live every Sunday, at least during the season. Let's be fair. It's only during the season. But we're just going to say it's time to kind of wrap up everything that happened. So there you go. Let's start with some good stories. Global series. It was fun, right? You got to chase some patches, eh?
Yeah, I did. I shout out to Skylar, listener, part of the Discord server, was boots on the ground for me in Berlin and in Prague trying to get some swag. The games did not sell pucks for whatever reason. So I was like, screw that capitalism shit.
Oh, you go direct to the provider, baby.
I went straight to the manufacturer and I'm like, what's the lead time? And they're like, yeah, 8 weeks. I'm like, bangers. Let's get it.
Bet. Oh, we also we saw the Sharks unveil a brand new scoreboard that is huge.
Yeah, it's a big thing.
Christ, is that thing huge. And even doing some 3-dimensional video on some of the games. It was kind of cool. We saw Doug Wilson get a banner, second game of the season. We saw Marleau, an entire weekend devoted to Patrick Marleau and his jersey retirement ceremony. That was cool. You had Erik Karlsson passing the century mark, eventually landing on 101. And a couple stories that I think maybe go under the wayside that shouldn't. Nikolai Knizhov coming back. I mean, we touched on it. But not only that, but the found money of Mikey Asimont. Dude, that's a great story.
Yeah, I'm curious to see who the Sharks end up taking with that 4th round pick.
Dude, and if they'll be better than AC Munt, because AC Munt was a nice, sneaky little good grab.
Yeah.
Berg, thank you so much for the donation. Another great season, guys. Well done. Hey, thank you. We appreciate
Shout
that,
out.
man. Big time shout out. Let's not forget that we saw the opening of the Barracuda's new barn, TechCU. Dude, that is a fun fucking building. Holy crap. That is a fun fucking building. Can't wait to see more games there. That was a great thing that happened this season. Next season, the Sharks are building a penthouse lounge. I mean, I told them to do it 6 years ago, so it's all right. But hey, you know what? We got to pour one out and maybe get a banner for the old 17,562. Put it next to the 17,496 that it used to be. Because this is now where we wait for the collection of Sharks fans from Facebook to go, oh, the Sharks were great until they went to 17,562. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, I'll be curious to see what becomes of the club level lounge. How many of those people are going to shift to the penthouse? I'm interested, but the official capacity now is going to be 17,496, or I'm sorry, 17,470. That's it.
Oh, there you have it.
Long live 17,470. Oh, yeah.
17,496. That was the attendance like when I was a kid, and then I think they added some chairs when they moved the broadcasters up to the ceiling, right?
Yeah, they did that. I think they added some chairs next to the penthouse level, or somehow some extra seats were kind of like, oh, let me just jimmy these in here. Oh, the other thing too, they added seats when it used to be they had those entrances at all 4 sides, like where the Sharks come out of the Shark Head, like directly across from there. And then same thing where the opposing team comes out and directly across from there. Yeah, those used to be a little bit more open, and then they like put seats on top of that shit. So yeah, that's how they increased it.
And all these years later, it's still obvious because the chairs are different.
Oh, completely.
Which I understand.
Yeah, they got to be
those
flexed.
Platforms are those platforms are removable. So
well, because it works great for concerts and stuff like that. So anyway, this season wasn't all bad, except for, maybe that week at the end of last month when they beat Winnipeg, Vegas, and Arizona in consecutive games.
The season ended, which is always a positive.
Oh, solid, positive. So the moves that the Sharks made this season, we saw them trade a 3rd round pick and John Leonard for Cunnin. Didn't work out too great. Simply
not yet.
Hopefully that will materialize later. Just simply because, I mean, when did Cunnin get injured? Feels like 2 months ago at least.
Was it around Christmas?
God, was it that long ago? I didn't think it was that long ago, but it's been a minute.
His last game was December 13th.
Yikes! Not even Christmas. Holy fuck! All right, so you have that. You also have, of course, Burns and Peterson. I mean, everybody was waiting to. So Lane, get the hell out of here. And how many teams has Lane gone to since going to Carolina? We're not sure.
Yeah, he was on Carolina. He was on Columbus or Vancouver. He was on Columbus.
Jesus.
So he's.
Either way, Brent Burns and Lane Peterson to get Steven Lorentz, McAniemi, and a conditional 23 third-round pick. Has that condition been met? Or is that a playoff thing?
So what it was, Carolina was in possession of 2 third-round picks, and so the condition was the Sharks will get whichever one is later in the draft, which obviously ended up being the Hurricanes pick.
That's a bone pick. All right, anyway.
I mean, who cares, right?
Yeah, I know. Weatherby for Chris Guolo. I feel like that was
unratedly good.
Yeah, that was a solid. I mean, so let's, okay, you're saying 3rd round and Leonard for Cunnin that's a jury's still out move.
Correct.
Yes?
Yes.
Hold on. Why did your vocal volume go down so significantly? There he is. Okay.
I don't know what happened there.
So Burns and Peterson for Lorentz, McAniemi, conditional 23 third. Obviously, we really can't judge that until the Sharks say we're taking this, right?
More or less, yeah.
Okay. Weatherby for Chris Coelho. That's a grade yay.
Yeah, I just think Weatherby was a decent prospect, but the Sharks have a lot of decent prospects, and so to get somebody who's like an AHL veteran, I think couldn't be said enough how important that was.
And and Chief even made some contributions when he was called up.
Yeah,
I mean,
that
dude,
too.
dude looked comfy. Nick Cooper with the super chat. Thank you so much, good sir. Didn't find this show or channel until very late in the season, but thanks for doing all these shows to feed my Sharks fix. Please, lottery gods, please. Yes, I'm right there with you. Magna to Seattle for a 2023 fourth. I mean, that feels like correct value.
Well, not only that, but we forget Megna was found money, right? So
and Karlsson pumped him.
yeah, and so to get anything for Megna, I think is a huge win. If they had gotten a sixth for him, I think that would have been big because he was a pretty much a fringe defenseman that the Sharks took a chance on, right?
Let me ask you this: was it huge or was it huge?
I would say it was probably huge.
All right. AC Mont for Nemestikov, and then Nemestikov to the Jets for a 2025 fourth rounder, which again is very funny when you consider that AC Mont literally played for the Jets before all this happened.
Yeah, that's where they caught him. No, see, I think that's a really good deal because that's, you talk about especially these teams. You're not in a playoff spot, right? There's always a lot of talk about teams, they weaponize their cap space and they weaponize their roster space, right? This is a situation where the Sharks did exactly that because the Shark, with Asamont, between regular season and playoffs, the Sharks didn't go to the playoffs. There wasn't enough games for Asamont to retain his RFA status. He was going to become a UFA, so may as well trade him to a team that could potentially allow him to hit that required threshold. And then the player they get, hey, this other playoff team could really use this guy. Let's turn around and flip him. It's totally weaponizing your cap space, and I love when GMs do that because it's it's just smart business,
All right. Matt Nieto, Ryan Merkley for Kaut and McDonald. Now, I'm going to go on record I am on record as saying at the beginning of this, I did not like this. I didn't care for the return simply because I thought Matt Nieto was the best piece out of this. If you looked at his penalty killing and what he meant to the Sharks in that aspect, I was a little triggered, tilted, whatever you want to say. And I didn't know anything about Kaut at that point. And and I ended up learning from Jerk and Lacey and Ian is that, Kaut and Merkley is basically problem for problem. So it's McDonald and Nieto. And so I was still a little perturbed.
Mm-hmm.
But McDonald, I thought he had a couple good weeks as soon as he got here, but it feels like everybody gets that when you get that quick change of scenery and it's, I feel better and blah, blah, blah. And then, we said it, I don't know, 2 hours ago that McDonald is Jerk, not the biggest fan.
No, and I think, just initially, I think this has proven to be a really good trade for the Sharks just because, as we talked about last week, the Sharks were kind of in a position where they had a decent handful of defensive prospects. So letting go of Ryan Merkley, who had proven to not be a fit in this organization, and you bring in a forward prospect who has some positive upside, I think was a good gamble to take. And, the sample size is small, right? But I mean, if you combine NHL and AHL, you're looking at 19 points in 28 games. That's not terrible for the San Jose organization. And, I do agree with you. I thought maybe if you had gone to another team, you could get a pick for Matt Nieto. But I think Greer is kind of playing the long game where, maybe getting Martin Kaut was more important than getting a pick, number one. Number two, I think maybe, around the time that deal came down, you fast forward a year. So what would that be? January 24?
Yep.
Maybe all of a sudden you flip McDonald for a pick, and so it may end up working out on the back end.
Hell yeah. Dude, Reedy for Peterson. You're a fan.
Dude, A+. And again, that's not to disparage Scott Reedy, but just in terms of okay, which prospect do I like more? It's Peterson.
Yeah.
And we broke it down when that trade came down, but the NHL experience was better. I thought what he brought to the table from a penalty killing and speed and skill arena I thought was better than what Reedy brought. And, Reedy is still a fine prospect where, maybe he's a bottom six guy, right? Whereas Jacob Peterson is maybe a middle six guy. And so if you have the option 1-for-1 and you get a more exciting prospect, or as Ricky is pointing out, NHLer, you take that deal. And it's similar to Weatherby, where Reedy's a decent prospect, but the Sharks have a lot of decent prospects, right?
Hell yeah.
And to get Jacob Peterson, who, again, we talked about it, earlier in the show, Jacob Peterson already had NHL experience and came in and I would say made an immediate impact. Like I said, he's going to be on this NHL roster next year. And I think, does he play on the wing in the top six? I'm not so sure. I think he ends up starting out as like a bottom six kind of rover guy, but you can find success there,
I got to say that Kaut is definitely going to be a name I'm going to be staring at hard during training camp.
He's definitely,
Time
got
to make the
inside
jump.
track. Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's the best way to put it, actually.
Meyer, a player called Hataka, Hataka, whatever you want. But Meyer, Hataka, Harrington, Bragimov, Zachary Iman, and a fifth. Jesus Christ! Somebody give me a scorecard. And a fifth for Mukamadolin, Janssen, Zetterlund. Say it again.
Aquatyuk.
There you go. And a first, second, and seventh. I can't even with this. Please do the math, because it makes my fucking head spin on this.
I've warmed up on this trade just because having the extra first this year is nice. Potentially getting an extra first next year is nice as well. Even if it's not an extra first, it's an extra second, which is always nice. Mukamadolin is a good prospect. Zetterlund is, I know he didn't get a goal when he was with the Sharks, but he still is a decent skilled player. And when he, if he can get like a full training camp and a full proper start to being with the Sharks, I think he's gonna have a good season.
Well, it is the note is funny. It's Greer traded Meyer in the middle of one of the best scoring seasons in franchise history, and the two forwards he got back that were NHL ready haven't scored a goal in 33 combined games.
Right. And I do wonder, like,
yikes,
with Andreas Janssen, I do, he is going to be a pending unrestricted free agent. I do wonder if maybe he's a guy who comes back on a cheap deal to be a fourth line option, or even an option for the Barracuda. I do wonder if he comes back.
Yeah, I don't know. That almost felt like we're going to get some reserves back to finish out the season, but it's all about these picks. You know what I mean?
No. Well, and in the case of Janssen, I would agree with you. I mean, he was definitely, I don't want to say cap dump, because he's a better player than a cap dump, but it was a financial thing.
Sure.
Why Janssen came over. But I think in the right role and at the right dollar amount, I think he can be an effective player, for the Sharks or for the Barracuda, right? And with Zetterlund, like, again, I know 3 assists in 22 games it's not great, but look at what he did with New Jersey, right? 20 points in 45 games. There's something there. You can, you might be able to massage that into a little something, maybe a third line guy, but
sure. So
I wouldn't say he was a roster dump,
All right. Bonino, Tony Soon, and a 2024 fifth. And this is all part of a 3-way deal that returned defenseman Arvid Henriksen, a 2023 seventh, and a 2024 fifth. So you're
kind
basically
of a
splitting
weird
fifths.
trade.
Yeah, I don't even. This almost felt like, okay, I mean, are we really going to bend over that hard to get Bonino somewhere? To like do him right?
Kind of a weird trade, especially because Pittsburgh didn't even make the playoffs. But
dude, I know.
I'm kind of looking at it like where do the Sharks, where do they net out, right? And they end up,
I mean, they're going to get a fifth that's a little higher than the fifth that they had,
right? And
then an extra seventh, and another defensive person that probably will never play a game in teal.
No, I bet. Yeah. So I
don't. I feel like they bent over backwards to get Bonino there, but maybe that, like the trade, it all seems like a net meh, but simply for the picks. But like some people do it for the clicks, Greer does it for the picks.
Well, let me ask you.
Bonino, it felt like I'm wondering. Maybe this deal, when you look at the net return from it, it's the pick, but maybe it's also kind of a flag to other players, especially veterans. We're going to do you right in San Jose. We're going to take care of you.
Yeah. Well, same thing with Andrew Cogliano. I know that was Joe Will that did that, but
Yeah,
still.
Who?
Not doing it.
Do it.
Joe Will.
Thank you.
I think here's the other thing to consider. Like, I don't know that there was that big of a market for Nick Bonino, right? And so
I agree.
I think this is a situation where
I mean, dude, you got market value. Deal with it.
Right. Like I think this is a situation where you get a 7th or you get nothing.
Yeah. And he ended up back on a team that he won a cup with, and they didn't even make the playoffs.
Well, and not only that, he only played 3 games because he ended up getting hurt.
Oh, God.
Here's the other thing to think about, something that people haven't talked about, right?
Getting hurt playing for a contender or playing throughout the season with the Sharks. Boy, it's kind of 50-50, isn't it?
Well, so you get the 7th round pick for Bonino, right? But you know what else you get? You get cap space.
Oh, your second favorite player.
Yeah, and not for nothing, right? But maybe that cap space allowed them to sign Henry Thrun when they did. That cap space allowed them to call up Nikolai Kanishov.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Well,
so it's all part of the plan. I think.
It's all part of the plan. You bring up that name.
That cap space allowed them to bring in Jacob Peterson.
Dude, there you go.
Because Scott Reedy was in the AHL. Scott Reedy was not coming up to the NHL, so sending him out doesn't matter. But you bring in an NHL contract, or I guess I should say a guy who's going to be in the NHL. You got to send some money out.
The Sharks traded a 2024 third for Thrun, the rights to get Thrun, I should say. And there's a few people. I was one of them where I was just like, man, they better have that shit on lockdown, or you're just pissing it away. And boom, they got it. And dude, I mean, this is. I mean, if you want to talk about a small sample size, but I like what I see so far in that sample.
Yeah, and same thing as Zetterlund, right? Where because he came from a full season with Harvard straight into the NHL, right?
It's pronounced Harvard.
So, right, and so if he can get into, he'll get the NHL, NHL workout, NHL training camp, and all that kind of stuff, right? And we'll see. I think he could, it could end up being a situation where you don't miss that 3rd round pick. You know what I mean?
Fuck yeah. Oh, dude, if Thrun blossoms, dude, and again, it's going to be that whole thing of, that 2024 3rd round pick. Does that end up being, I mean, it's not going to be Drew Doughty, but it's oh God, what's the guy's name that won the cup that piloted the defense in 2007?
Chris Pronger.
No. The guy with the really long string of names. I think he has a brother.
Scott Niedermayer.
There you go. I don't think a 2024 third is going to end up being the next Niedermayer for them. But either way, dude, I was a little sus on that. But as soon as Thrun put pen to paper, I was like, fuck yeah, I will take that.
Yeah, because they got him signed. And so now it's a situation, right, where you traded your 3rd and you signed him. How is that any different than drafting a guy with a 3rd and then signing him?
Hey, as long as it's the guy that you want, right?
Exactly. And here's the other thing, too. The Sharks.
Are you going to butter my toast?
Well, here's the other thing. The Sharks have
Hoove?
The Sharks have 14 months to recoup that pick.
Bring it.
Should they want to, right? They got 14 months where...
That's a stretch.
Where if the Sharks are terrible next year, you're kind of looking maybe a LeBanc, maybe a Lindblom, maybe a Lorentz, maybe a Shimmick, maybe a McDonald. Not saying any of those guys would go for a 3rd round pick, but there are going to be guys, in 10 months, there are going to be guys the Sharks are going to be looking to trade for picks, assuming they're a crappy team again, right?
Hell yeah.
So there's time. You have time.
Just praying for time.
That's why I liked, from Winnipeg's point of view, just to go back to that, the pick that they gave up for Nemesnikov was 2 years from now. Like, what do they care about the 4th round 2 years from now, right?
Goddamn right.
There's so much time to recoup that.
Well, and then finally they, we talked about it earlier, but they signed Chrona and all those other stuff. So my thing is, a lot of people, I may have been one of them that was whelmed early on by the moves that Greer made. But based on what we've just mentioned as what has happened this year, whether it was Cunnin, the Burns deal, Weatherby for Chris Guolo, Magna for a 4th, Acimont that ends up being a 4th, Nieto, Merkley for Kaut and McDonald, Reedy for Peterson, and then the whole fucking kitchen sink for Timo Meier. All in, you are giving Greer a passing grade.
Yeah, honestly, I would give him a B-.
You would get B-?
Yeah.
And now, is that because he was more or less forced to move Meier?
Well, I just think it's not so much that, the Meier deal is kind of, I mean, again, I still think a lot of people would say that the Meier deal is not where they wanted it to be, but
Sure.
with 2 months to kind of reflect on it, it's not a terrible trade, right? And so, you kind of look at that as like, okay, maybe you didn't do as well as you could have on this trade, but you still did a decent enough job, right?
Sure.
And then look at everything else. The Nieto trade I thought was a home run. The Magna trade I thought was a home run. The Peterson trade I thought was a home run.
Hold on. Did you think those are home runs in the moment or with hindsight? Because I remember being a little bit tilted about the Nieto thing because I thought they should have gotten a little bit more based on the player that Nieto is. Because let's be honest, he's a specialty guy.
No, I was fine with all 3 of those deals in the moment and with hindsight. I thought they were good. And again, small trades, but trades that you still grade on on an A scale. I would give all 3 of those trades. I would just we broke it down a couple weeks ago. You have to look at a trade. You have to look at a trade in the moment, and then a year after the moment, and then whenever all of the conditions, I guess, were satisfied, whether it's a draft pick or whatever. And so with all these trades, like in the moment, I think they're all A trades,
All right. Let's go to grades for this season. This should be fun. Like what you expected versus what you got. And hopefully we'll get everybody in here. And let's try to let's make it quick because we still got a lot to get to. Barabanov, should play a grade on that.
I would say A-.
So and we're talking expectations from last September versus what you got.
And the only reason I say A- is because I would have liked him to score a couple more goals.
Yep.
But other than that, I have no real complaints.
I'm right there with you. Logan Couture.
A-.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I was going to say, in my head, I was thinking solid B+.
Yeah, because he had a very good season, but there was one stretch where he went like a long stretch without getting a lot of points, and so that was in my mind. But overall, he had a really good season. He had a very Logan Couture Logan Couture type season, right?
All right.
So,
Chris Guolo.
N/A.
Incomplete?
Yeah, incomplete.
Okay.
What, 2 games?
Yeah, I was going to say it. Like, I'm not going to. Lacey, stop fishing for foreseen points. You'll get them in the DM. Stop. Chris Guolo, yeah, I'm right there with you. It's an INC. Gadjevic, I kind of feel the same. We just didn't see enough of him.
Yeah, I would be willing to.
Is it time to move on from him when you already have VL?
I think it's time to move on from both of them, if you want me to be honest.
Okay, there you go. I mean, because Gadjevic's 24, VL's 26. It's like, I think at the very least you have to move on from one of them.
Well, and Jeff VL is gonna be a Group 6 UFA, meaning he didn't play enough NHL games to retain RFA status. And
Yeah, time to.
I don't know, Gadjevich. Even you go back, whatever year that was, they claimed him off waivers last year. I think it was like
Time to pull the cord, man.
I didn't understand the waiver claim to begin with. You know,
All right, Noah Gregor.
C plus.
Yeah, I'm kind of there, like C plus for most of the season, and then it's like, okay, you throw in like the last week, it's like, okay, B minus.
Played well.
He's a guy who crammed for the test in the last, the night before.
He played well towards the end, but started slow, so that hurts his grade. But I think what helps his grade is the fact that he was in the doghouse, and then when he got let out of it, he did enough to stay out of it.
All right. Did you say something about that VL wasn't a UFA because Lacey and
No, I said he is. I said he is a UFA.
Oh, okay. There you go. Hurdle, dude. I'm gonna just say C.
I'll say B minus.
Yeah,
because the stats are there.
The stats are there, and he got. I mean, can we honestly assess like the fact that they tried to make him a plug and play guy. Like we talked about at the beginning of the season. It's like, we're like, dude, how many times did we talk about the chemistry that Hurdle and Barbie had?
Mm-hmm.
And then you saw, like, after 2 weeks, all of a sudden it was like Barbie was playing with Couture, and it was like, no.
Well, not only that, but think about it like this, right? And I use this term as nicely as I can, but how many anchors did Hurdle have to play with this year?
Oh, dude, yeah.
Lindblom.
He was dragging people up the hill.
Bonino when he shifted to the wing for a minute. LeBanc the first half of the season. Like Hurdle got stuck with a lot of anchors this year.
Yeah. Janssen.
Incomplete.
Yeah. I mean, Cunnin, same.
No, Cunnin I feel comfortable giving a D minus to, only because he had top 6 minutes and did nothing.
Yep. I'm right there.
Did nothing while also not being able to stay out of the penalty box.
Right there with you. LeBanc.
Oh gosh. C plus for similar reason
Yep.
to Gregor. Started slow but then got hot and was able to work out of the doghouse.
Agreed. Lindblom. Sorry, F.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I love the story. I love that he was given that opportunity. But Lawrence. I'm gonna say
A plus.
A plus? I was
A
gonna
plus.
say A plus. See, I was gonna say B plus.
Why?
But I don't know. Just because I felt like it.
All year you've been a Lorenz hater.
Not a hater, but it's what it is that I figure for a guy his size, I expect a little more physicality out of his game, and I'm disappointed.
That's fair. That's a fair point. But I look at it from the perspective of good face-off guy, good penalty kill guy. You're right. He actually hit quite a bit this year. He had 133 hits this year, which is pretty nice.
Yeah, but I feel like he plays smaller than he is,
Fair point. That's a fair point.
Okay.
But I like the hits. I like the block shots. Dude, 46 takeaways to only 15 giveaways. You talk about defensive prowess.
Hey, now.
Right? And from a fourth line,
are you trying to say he plays the right way?
He does play the right way. And for a player like Lawrence, I was expecting 7 to 10 goals, and guess what? He got 10.
So there you go.
I say Lawrence A plus. Fight me.
Peterson. Is that an incomplete?
I would say incomplete, but it's not incomplete like it's not an incomplete like Gadjevich, where
or
you
Chris
barely.
Coelho.
Yeah, we didn't see a full season of
I feel you. I know what you're saying.
I'll say this though, to really really dig into the school theme. So, and maybe some people will know exactly what I'm talking about. Maybe some people will never heard of it. At my elementary school, when you get to like the parent teacher conference, they calls it, right?
They still call it that, dumbass.
No, that's not what I'm talking about. So all the factors, this student does this student does that, all of these things, you either got excellent, satisfactory, or needs improvement.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think the players you mentioned, like Gadjevich specifically, he definitely classifies as a needs improvement.
Sure.
But like somebody like Peterson, somebody like Chris Guolo, I would say satisfactory, because you're not quite there yet, but it's kind of like so far so good,
I feel that. Nico Sturm, for me, A.
A+.
Yeah. Like, dude, just like brought it day in, day out, no matter where he was placed. And again, just a guy who's that honest with his assessment of not only himself, but of the team. And, he's not one of those guys. That's the thing that I really respect about him. He's not one of those guys that's going to give you the cliche answer. I don't know how many times where Couture would be asked something and he'd be, well, losing sucks or whatever. He would say losing sucks. Nico Sturm would be asked the same question. Nico would go, we sucked.
Right.
So I respect the hell out of that. So yeah. Svechnikov. I kind of want to B-.
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
There was
he needed more time.
There was a stretch there where maybe a third of the season where I thought he played really well.
Mm-hmm.
I would say B-, C+, B-. He's kind of in that middle ground.
And another big boy, 6'3",
Yeah, and I think that's a lot coming from me, because I thought that signing was a mistake when it first came down.
You're like, wrong, Svechnikov.
Right.
VL. I feel like that's
Incomplete.
That's an incomplete. Zetterlund.
Incomplete.
Oh, really? See, I would say like C-, D+.
I that's fair. I think that's fair.
I don't know, like smaller guy didn't, and like the 2 goals that he almost got were like waived. You just kind of go, oh, this guy is just like the epitome of bad luck. Get him the fuck out of here.
Right.
All right. Defensively, did I miss anybody at forward? I don't think so.
No, I don't believe so.
I think I hit them all.
Unless you're counting guys that were traded away.
Well,
like
no. I'm
Timo
not.
Meier,
No.
Nick Bonino.
I think we're all fine where we know where Timo is. Defensively, Matt Benning. I'm going to tell you, early on in the season, I was not a fan.
Same.
And I warmed up to him as the season progressed. I would give him a solid B.
I would say C+.
Okay. Ferraro, dude, I gotta say,
F.
I was gonna say D-,
F.
but yeah.
Tell me something good. And again, I don't want to be mean, but what did he do that was? Forget good or bad.
See, and here's the thing that pisses me off. This is the thing that pisses me off sometimes when we offer our honest opinion. So, oh, you're being mean or what? It's like honest and mean don't mean the same thing. It's like, this is honestly how I feel about it. Other people may feel differently. This is how I feel about it. You're saying Ferraro is an F for you. I was going to be a little nicer and say D-, but I'm with you. And it's based on expectations. Ferraro, like I said earlier, it was my 0 for the team. It's on what I expected. The game that he spoke at the beginning of the season, I had so many hopes and expectations, and I was let down time and time again.
Right.
So there we are. Erik Karlsson. I mean,
A+.
Yeah, I was going to say, is there something above A+ that you can hand out? Knizhov. I'm going to say.
Incomplete.
Well, see, I was going to say A- because he comes back from what he comes back from and did not look completely out of place. That is impressive after 2 years out of the game.
And I think, and you know what? I think with Knizhov, similar to Jacob Peterson, where I liked what they did, and I think if we're grading it on the scale of the games they played, then yeah, it's an A. But if we're grading it on the scale of the season, right? And I just don't think those two guys, especially, as much as I liked what they did and didn't see any problems with what they did, I don't think they played enough of the season to have a complete analysis, you know?
Yeah. Okay. Your favorite, McDonald.
Dude, fucking D minus.
I thought you were gonna say G. I don't even know why we're bringing this up, but it's on the lineup. Nudavara.
Incomplete.
Yeah, I mean Z.
That's a guy I feel bad for because
I feel horrible for him. But I mean,
Kevin Lacey pointed out, like, he's a decent defenseman. He just can't stay healthy.
But that's my whole thing as well. It's like, you signed this cat. Like, this is my whole thing, because I don't know everything about fucking hockey. You signed this motherfucker for $1.5 million. He got injured? Shit happens. Are they on the hook to pay out the 1.5? Even though he didn't play a single fucking game?
No, he was on long-term injured reserve for, I believe, the whole year. Let me check that.
Christ.
Yeah, he's been on LTIR. Let's see.
But did the Sharks have to pay out that deal?
No. Well, yes, they have to pay out.
They should have put a contingent on there.
20%, I think.
Oh, I was going to say, they needed to put a contingent on there. It was just like, yeah, we're going to pay you $1.5 million contingent on the fact that you actually pay 10 games.
Yeah, he was on. So he was on. They once. So as soon as he was eligible to be put on injured reserve, he was put on injured reserve, which is the beginning of the season. And then, the weekend of Thanksgiving, he was put on long-term injured reserve. So when you're on LTI,
never heard from him again.
When you're on LTIR, I believe the insurance covers somewhere in the neighborhood of 75 to 80% of the contract.
Whew. All right.
But you know what? You signed the deal, so you gotta
live it up.
Yeah. It's not it's not his fault that he got hurt.
Radim Shimmick.
D plus.
Yeah, I was kind of there. I was like C minus D plus. I feel like Quinn would have given him his cookies if he had earned them. And, and Shimmick, to be fair, a lot of the time for him and Teal, he's had spurts, but he's also had ridiculous injuries.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it was just, and plus he's played, I mean, dude, he's been partnered with everybody. So it's been hard for him to find chemistry, but yeah, C minus D plus, I can totally respect that. Henry Thrun. I'm just going to, I was just going to say A. Like, I expected nothing, and he came in, and I was like, look at this motherfucker.
I mean, I would same as Peterson and Kanizhov, where I liked what he did, but not enough to cover a full season.
All right, Vlasic. Oh, this should be compelling.
C plus.
Oh, see, I was going to say B minus, but
okay,
so we're about in the same ballpark. It was just, maybe he got jam job bobbed a couple last seasons, and maybe he got a little more trust from Quinn. Maybe he got his shit together a little bit more. Who knows? But I certainly don't want the Sharks to buy him out. I'm like, the Sharks, as far as I'm concerned, they're not going to be good for the next year after that. So Vlasic has 3 more years left. Why not eat the last one?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not even going to get into the goaltending because it was fucking horrific. So there you go. Who stays and who goes, my friend? When we talk about UFAs, you have Janssen. To me, I'm like, goodbye.
Are we saying, so let me ask you this. Is your question, who do you think stays, or is your question, who do you want to stay?
Who do I think stays and goes? And
Gotcha, okay.
Andreas Janssen, I think he goes.
I'm 50-50 on him.
See, I think 28 years old, UFA, making 3.4, didn't really impress too much. I think he's out. And Lacey, if you want to like bring up a document to take note of all these things, I'd appreciate it. We can, because maybe we'll bet on this later. So yeah, I'm saying Janssen. I'm 90% Janssen. Andreas Janssen's gone. You're saying 50-50.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Free agent restricted. Noah Gregor. I say keep him, but that's me. It's what do I think the Sharks will do? I hate to say this. I think the Sharks might let him go. Even though he's only 24, I think they might sit there and go, well, we have Gushin and we have Coe and we have Eklund and we have Bordalo. Like we have all these pieces that are a couple of years younger, might be the same player, blah, blah, blah. So and Gregor, for whatever reason, hasn't been able to find the back of the net unless the season isn't on the line anymore.
Right.
So what do you?
No, I'm the same way. I think they do let him go, but I would give him another chance just to see.
You think they try to at least move his rights or something for anything?
No, I don't think he's worth that much.
All right. And your favorite player, Peterson, he's on an ELC, so it's only 23, but entry level contract at RFA. I mean, that's a piece I'm keeping.
Yeah, I would 100% you keep him, and
It's like a 2-year, bridge.
Yeah, I was gonna say you don't want to, I would try and buy up, I would buy up a couple years, see if you can't get him to 2 or 3 years, and then you can really kind of track his progress and see what he's all about.
Jeffrey VL, UFA G6. Yeah,
let him go.
I'm a 26-year-old, but yeah, I'm right there with you. Zetterlund, RFA at 23.
I give him a 1 or 2 year deal.
Yeah, I'm of the I'm kind of like, nah, we appreciate you, but we have some shit in the pipe.
If you're gonna get rid of him, then you're not letting him go for nothing. If you're gonna get rid of him,
something,
you're flipping him if that's the play.
Svechnikov making the same amount as Zetterlund.
I would let him go.
So see, that's the funny thing. I would keep Svechnikov, but I would let go Zetterlund. I just felt like Svechnikov brought more to the party. He can play left or right side, and when he was healthy, he seemed to make more of an impact on the game than Zetterlund for me.
So I'm gonna take the counterpoint. I don't get me wrong, he had good stats this year, but I think his stats were inflated. I think he's more of a fourth line guy. And so
hold on. Okay, well then let me ask you that though. It was the problem is that Svechnikov was put into a position that he shouldn't have been in by the coach.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay then.
I thought he played way too high on the line, but here's the thing. You're going to have Lorentz on your fourth line.
Will we?
Yes. If the Sharks bring back Andreas Janssen or Noah Gregor, one of those guys are going to be on the fourth line. Oscar Lindblom might be on the fourth line if he can't revitalize his career. And that's not factoring in anybody the Sharks might sign, or if they call up, somebody, say they call up a Martin Kaut, or they call up,
okay.
I mean, take your pick, you know what I mean? So
sure.
It's letting Svechnikov go, not because he's bad, but just because there's no room for him.
Well, and Ricky kind of jumping on your coattails. Svechnikov's 26. This is the absolute best you're going to get out of him. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, if you bring him back to be a fourth line guy, or a scratch guy, that's fine. But if it's a situation where he's playing in the middle six, that's when you're in trouble.
Yeah, no. I'm talking about bringing him back at $750. What he made, fourth line plug. Yeah, sure. I'm right there. And then Ian saying I'd bring back VL on an AHL deal if he can get a two-way somewhere else. Let him go. But I might be in the minority. Yeah.
Yeah, I think an AHL only deal might not be the worst thing for him.
Sure.
Because he's a big part of that. Sorry, he's a big part of that.
Oh, am I boring team,
you? It's almost 3 hours.
Gadjevic.
Let him go.
Yeah, I'm right there. Same
I just and he's an RFA. I don't care.
Yeah, 24 and a waiver claim at that. James Reimer. Bye.
Let him go.
Yeah, I mean, dude's 35 and blah blah blah. Yeah, he's not going to get that. Nudavara.
Let him go.
Yeah.
He honestly, I think Kevin Lacey pointed it out on Twitter. Nudavara probably retires, honestly.
As he should. As he absolutely should. So, that's where we're at with the FA situation, I think. And, it's going to open up the door for a lot of the Barracuda and see what Greer has up his sleeve to find some people. So, yeah, for who stays and who goes, that's it. Now, the other thing is many people are saying, Jerk, you should buy out Vlasic. I completely disagree with those people.
I do as well.
Yeah,
Why? What's the point?
Yeah,
right?
What is it? It's it'll allow us to sign somebody else. Is it going to get you over the hump? No.
Sign someone else to do
what exactly?
What?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
You know what I mean?
it's just no. You dance with the girl that brung you, and you're gonna have to fucking play it out for the next season or two. You're on the hook for 2.7 over the next 2 years for Brent Burns. Now, granted, cap goes up $1 million next season, probably go up at least $2 million after that, and that's fine. But you have to recognize you're going to get out from underneath $3 million this year. Because of Timo. You're again 2.7 for Brent Burns next year. The year after that, you still have Martin Jones next season at almost $3 million, but the next 3 consecutive years after that, it's only 1.6. Hell, the fucking cap is going to go up more than that. So that's next to nothing. And then, oh my God, dude, how are the Sharks going to be able to deal with paying Rudolph's Balsers $300,000? I mean, holy crap! How are they going to?
I don't know. You know, those are the things that you have nightmares about.
Dude, I wake up in a sweat with it. Oh, Nick in the chat. He's back here with the donation. Thank you so much. Would you guys be okay with letting McAniemi back up Kahkonen, since it will be another development year for the team?
That's fine.
I wouldn't have a problem with that, because you have to find out what the hell you have in Kahkonen. And the weird thing is, tell me if I'm wrong, Jerk, it seemed like anytime Reimer was injured is when Kahkonen played his best hockey.
Yep. Yeah.
So it's just kind of like, maybe we just need to get Reimer the fuck out of here, and Kahkonen will play a lot better.
So let me give you a spicy meatball here.
Oh, let me get my fork.
So as we know,
I need a
you
knife.
and I both know this. Everybody listening knows this. That the second round pick in 2024 that the Sharks got from the Devils has a chance at becoming a first round pick. You and I both know this.
Hell yeah.
If you're the Sharks,
do
you not take this second, which could become a first, and package that along with maybe a Chrona, maybe a Man, maybe a Gaudreau?
Sure.
And you go to the Boston Bruins and you say, "Hey,
Sway,
what do you feel about a goalie prospect and a second that might become a first for a guy that you're not going to be able to re-sign?" Yes. Because here's the thing. Because here's the thing, dude. I know people are going to say, "Well, the Bruins would never trade Swayman at that cost," and maybe you're right. But here's the thing. If the Boston Bruins want to remain a competitive team beyond this year, guess what?
Got to make moves to the future.
They're not going to be able to re-sign Swayman and keep Ullmark.
Yep.
Because Ullmark is at $5 million right now. I believe Jeremy Swayman will probably come in around what Spencer Knight is coming in at, which is 3.25 ish.
Literally,
so all of a sudden, if you're
literally every team in the NHL wishes they had Boston's problem in net.
Well, and nobody's talking about, they got, their number 3 in the wings, Brandon Bussey is a good little guy as well. So they got backfill,
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking like, yes, Boston, they got a lot to figure out with their forwards. Half of their forwards are going to be free agents, but
maybe maybe Boston feels like they owe San Jose a little something for fucking them over on Martin Jones.
Right. But that defense is locked up. And I mean,
or was that payback for Thornton? I don't know.
And you know what? Maybe Boston, maybe they really kind of surprise everybody. Could you imagine Vezina Trophy season? Okay, bye-bye, Ullmark. Honestly,
didn't a team do that? Oh, it was Fleury. Chief won the fucking Vezina, and they shipped his ass out.
And the Islanders did that with Robin Lehner as well.
God damn.
Robin Lehner, I'm trying to remember. I don't know. He won the Bill Masterton trophy, and he won the William Jennings trophy, which is, best, fewest goals allowed. So, and he was nominated for the Vezina.
Oh, man.
Right?
Okay.
And so what I'm saying is it's not unheard of.
Yeah.
That's my point.
Not at all. and I'm sorry to interrupt, but dude, we're
We
10
don't have to
minutes
do anything. It's our network.
I know, but we're 10 minutes away from 3 hours, and good Lord, we're still not close to being done.
And yes, I do feel compelled to point out that I did say nobody is talking about Brandon Bussey. Kevin is, because Kevin knows things. Kevin
will be the first person to tell you he's talked about something.
but you know what? Kevin has receipts.
He's got 'em.
I can't tell you how many times, I will discover
What?
some.
Is it Kevin Lacey 22 at Twitter?
Yeah.
Or on Twitter? There you go. He will let a motherfucker know.
I can't tell you how many times I've discovered a player and I'm like, I wonder if Kevin has said anything about this guy.
Hey, you pull up a tweet from 2 years ago and Kevin's so, motherfucker.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, well, I mean, on the prospect side of it, it's fine. I suppose. It's certainly better than it was, years ago under the Wilson regime.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, if we're gonna talk, your number, numero uno, it's Eklund.
Mm-hmm.
The Athletic second, Mukhamadullin.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously your top defensive prospect. How are you feeling about Bystad? I know Mark is a big Bystad fan.
Truthfully, I haven't watched him enough to have a good opinion, but from what I've heard, he's working his way into being, one of the more notable and impressive pieces of the Sharks prospect pool.
Okay.
So I think think about what the Sharks do every year, right? They have the rookie tournament, or I'm sorry, the prospect scrimmage.
Sure.
And then you have the rookie face off with all the American Southwest teams. So I think those two events, the prospect scrimmage and the rookie face off, are going to be, I think those are going to be real big moments to kind of see what the Sharks have to offer, because, as we've talked about, the Sharks have accumulated a handful of prospects here recently. I wouldn't be surprised if, as much as I think it would kind of suck for those guys, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if Thrun and Mukhamadullin play in the prospect scrimmage,
Sure.
And,
I like the fact that Lacey is watching us, based on the chat, is watching us on both YouTube and Twitch. Dude, that's,
you
that's,
just got to
that's
boost
bomb,
those numbers.
dude. Yeah.
Yeah,
dude.
boost those numbers.
Love it.
But I think those guys will play in the prospect scrimmage. And here's the other thing: the Sharks have the Sharks have 3, 6, 9. The Sharks have 12 draft picks in this year's draft.
Yeah.
Two of which are first round picks, and I would bet money the Sharks are gonna find themselves with at least 1 or 2 more picks here before the draft is over. I mean, again, we've talked.
Let me give you the top.
Could easily go.
Let me give you the top 20.
Top 20 what?
Sharks in the pipeline.
20? Jeez, okay.
Yeah. So Eklund, you thinking he may? And again, we're gonna bang through this. Eklund makes the roster for the Sharks next season.
Yes.
Mukhamadullin.
No.
Cuda or Sharks?
Okay, Barracuda.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm gonna give you the option: Sharks, Cuda, or other.
Okay. So
Mukhamadullin, you say Cuda. Bystad.
Other.
Bordelot.
Sharks.
Lund. Cam Lund.
Other.
Havlin. Matthias.
Oh man. Other.
Henry Thrun.
Sharks to start.
Oh, nice. I like that. Gushin.
Barracuda to start.
Robbins.
Barracuda to start.
Fisher. Michael.
Next question.
LaRock.
Barracuda.
Barracuda. Artemi Knyazhev.
Barracuda.
Jake Furlong.
See, here's the thing, because these guys, I don't know off the top of my head what league they are eligible for. So I don't want to say Barracuda and then be like, you idiot, he's staying in this.
No, I feel you.
But I would say
it's still getting the idea of where you think their skill level's at.
Yeah, Furlong, he just turned 19, so he's most likely gonna go. Actually, he is gonna go back to Halifax. So
all right,
Barracuda probably.
Brandon Coe.
Barracuda.
Weisblatt.
Another team. I should
Really?
say another organization.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you know what? I feel you on that. I feel like the Sharks might have said, like, at the very least, the Sharks organization might sit there and say, we need a little something different from you. And if he's unable to show it, then yeah, he go.
I wonder if now, again, I don't know if the Sharks would find themselves in a situation where this would happen, but let's just say, for fun,
Say it.
let's just say the Sharks find themselves in a situation where they're acquiring a bigger name guy, say Jeremy Swayman. Maybe Weisblatt is one of the pieces that would go to Boston.
Hello. Nick Cicek.
Barracuda.
I was gonna say Cuda too, just because the pipeline is so clogged.
Yeah, well, not only that, but I don't think his time in the NHL was all that inspiring, so he probably could use another full run in the Barracuda.
Well, and Lacey saying trade Raska, keep Weisblatt.
And you know what? That's fine.
Yeah. Ethan Cardwell, prospect
Barracuda.
of the season. Okay. And finally, Alex Young, center from Coldgate.
I'm assuming I don't believe that he's signed, so he'll stay in university.
Oh, there you go. And I should probably finish that whole, prospect thing up with reminding you all that Kevin Lacey, Ian Reed are going to be speaking with the voice of the San Jose Sharks, Barracuda, Nick Nolenberger, this Wednesday on this YouTube channel and on your podcast platform. So there you go. Enjoy that. That should be a lot of fun. I can't wait to hear what all the boys have to talk about the future of the San Jose Sharks franchise. Let's revisit some shit before we get out of here. At the beginning of the season, some prognostications, if you will. We had a new GM, got a new coaching staff, lots of front office additions for drafting and development, including a new scoreboard that we talked about and the whole ribbon. Hey, we had brand new jerseys. We haven't even talked about that. Although it is funny that, we should never play in those black jerseys. They always lose. Well, welcome to this season, motherfucker. But we also saw ads on jerseys this season. We saw digital ads on the boards. Not a fan of either, but it is what it is. And coming into this season, last October, The Athletic ranked the Sharks 31st in contract efficiency, 21st in prospects, 29th in front office confidence. Even the broadcast team went from 6th to 19th over 3 seasons. The Athletic projected the Sharks to finish 26th in the NHL. They finished 29th, even after finishing 22nd last year. Vegas odds makers, jerk, sir. I think I realize how that city was built, because the Sharks finished 29th, and Vegas odds makers said they will finish 29th.
The house always wins.
That's what I'm saying, brother. TSN, along with a few other outlets, said the Sharks would finish last in the Pacific. They didn't. Somehow, Anaheim beat them to the bottom. But the thing that'll really get you, 2017, 2018, Sharks finished 12th in goals, but 9th in goals against. The year after that, the year that they got EK, they finished 2nd in goals for, 21st in goals against. So obviously the little bit more focus on offense, a little less on defense. But 2019, 2020, before COVID fucked everything up, 27th in goals, 26th in goals against. The year after that, after we kind of came back with no fans, it was 26th in goals, 29th in goals against. The year after that, 30th. Last season, 30th in goals for, 21st in goals against. So while Bob Bugner's team got better defensively, they got worse offensively. Quinn, a little bit better offensively, 25th in goals for, but really bad on the defense, 30th goals against. The Athletic, coming into this past season, tracked the 10 worst contracts in the NHL. The Sharks were the only team to have 2 of the 10 worst contracts, Vlasic and Karlsson. So, of course, if you look at that today, you go, well, there's no way Karlsson's on that list. Now, Jerk, would you say that Vlasic is still on that list?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I'm good with you. Where does the scoring come from is a question that we asked last summer. We're like, Meyer, Hurdle, and Couture, of course. And then where? Because last season, the next 3 were Bonino, Dahlin, Balcers. Well, Bonino's in Pittsburgh. Dahlin is, I don't even know where. And Balcers is with the Syracuse Crunch. This season, the next 3 scorers were Barabanov, LeBanc, and Sturm. And the funniest thing is that despite being traded a month and a half ago, Bonino's still 7th.
Of course he is.
Of course. So it's, the Sharks obviously need to find some scoring touch and some depth. They had a league worst at scoring 5-on-5. But they led the NHL in block shots. But that, of course, means that you don't have the puck very much. Brent Burns had posted 10 goals, 54 points. And the question was, how do you replace Burns and his time on ice? You give it all to Erik Karlsson. I think we've all seen how that worked out. So what do you think about Greer saying to everybody, the door is open for Jumbo and Marlowe to return in some way, shape, or form? Are you just kind of like,
I don't care.
Well, I figure you were just like, oh, is there a broom tall enough for Thornton to use to sweep?
No, but let's think about it. Let's think about it like this, right? So say they come out and they say, okay, Joe Thornton and Patrick Marleau co-executive special assistant to the assistant general manager. They make up some bullshit title.
It's made up titles to give them extra cash, I guess.
Yeah, but it's like what?
Yeah, it makes.
What are they doing?
Sense. Yeah,
right. Like even like
dude, go full Office Space, dude. What is it that you say you do here?
Right. It's like I don't care because it doesn't impact the. What are they going to do? They say, well, that
fucking guy over there.
That Adam Raska. You got to trade him. Like, oh, okay, cool. Like they're just advisors, right? Like,
yeah.
Who cares?
They're like talking heads. It's like, come out here. What was? Did you ever see that movie with who is it? Rosie O'Donnell, Madonna, and Tom Hanks, or the women's league baseball, the League of Their Own?
No.
Oh, okay. It's a great movie, but at one point, Tom Hanks plays this, this ball player that was like a big name, but then like booze and everything fucked his career, and they hire him to like coach this women's team, and somebody barks at him saying, hey, like get your shit together. And he's like, hey, it's been made really clear to me what I'm supposed to do here. It's my name. I like I get off the bench. I wave my little hat in the air, and then I get paid. And I feel like that might kind of be a little bit of the same for Thornton and Marlowe. It's like, hey, I show up, I wave at the camera, and then the check clears.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. At the beginning of the season, you talked about there weren't a lot of talks with Meyer happening.
Okay.
And you were very much kind of like, well, hey, it's a long season.
Mm-hmm.
And he ended up going somewhere else. Shit happens. And I'm happy that I'm able to ask you this question now that a couple of months have passed, and you get that opportunity to have a little bit of hindsight on it, a little bit of time to think. You said if the Sharks trade Meyer, they're going to spend the next 10 years looking for the next Timo Meyer, which I think is a completely valid thing to say. But does it carry that much weight when you know that the first 5 years of those 10 years that they're looking for the next Meyer, that the Sharks probably aren't going to be competitive? You know what I mean?
I get what you're trying to say, but here's the thing. You know what makes you competitive?
Having
Better
a player like
players.
Timo Meyer. All right. Solid point. We also asked at the beginning of the last season,
guy scored 40 goals this year. Those guys don't fall off trees.
They don't?
If there was a 40 goal scorer tree somewhere, every team would have them.
Oh my God. Who's the goalie for Nashville? With the
UC Saros.
Yeah. No. The meme of him like beating the crap out of a tree.
Oh, Pecorino.
Yeah, dude. That's what somebody needs to redo that, where he just keeps beating on a tree, and it's like you just see like players falling out that are like like McDavid falls out, Draisaitl falls out. You know what I mean? Can Karlsson stay healthy for an entire season? I think he proved that to be an emphatic yes.
Yeah, first full season since I think 2015, 2016.
Yeah.
2015-16 was the last full season he had. And not for nothing.
Oh, whip it out.
Do you happen to know that the last time he played a full season, he was second in Norris voting?
Nice.
It's going to be real great when he's first this year.
Kahkonen. Could Kahkonen take the number one spot? I don't know that he did.
In a way, he
he almost. I mean, I could say that he did, but because his competition lowered the bar.
Well, here's the thing, though, dude.
Oh, okay, whip it out. Say it, because I'll be right back.
Here's the thing to keep in mind for the perspective of the Sharks. Being a number one goalie doesn't mean having good stats. Being a number one goalie means playing the most minutes, right? And so you look at the stats. Reimer played, when you break it down to minutes, right? Reimer played 3.5 more games than Kaapo Kähkönen did. So, did he become the number one goalie? I guess technically no. But, him and Reimer pretty much split the duties, which I think is a step up from last year when he was kind of, just the backup. So I don't know. That's kind of my take on it. But also, again, that's just talking about ice time. If you want to break it down to like stats, the Sharks had 0 number one goalies this year. So I don't know.
I'm sorry. Will the Sharks be able to produce more offense this season? They statistically, they literally did. And yet a 17-point worse season than the year before. All right. Could they replace Brent Burns?
Yep.
Ike did. So we answered some good questions. And I don't know that the answers were the way that I thought they were going to turn out, but shit happens. So with that, after a solid 3 hours, it's the only time you can get jerked to do 3 hours of anything is tell him it's the last one of the year. And he'd be like, all right, fine.
Sure.
Do you want to give anybody the backstage pass to the Discord?
I want to give everybody the Irish goodbye.
Hey now.
No, if you want to join the Discord, just send me a DM on Twitter and assuming you're not a shady person, you'll get in there and it'll be awesome.
There you go.
The conversation literally never stops.
Never. So we would like to thank everyone who joined us this season, spending your Sunday evenings with us. I hope you guys appreciate. And if you don't, look, the chat is open still. If you're like, you know what? I really like listening to you guys, but goddamn, if you guys could move this to like Friday or Monday, I'd really appreciate it. Hey, let us know. We thought that based on the schedule, it's the end of the week and everything like that, that Sundays seemed like a good time. 7:00 Pacific seemed like a good time. But we want to enjoy the fact that you've come in and decided to spend your Sunday evenings with us. Hopefully we shared some knowledge, entertained you, gave the occasional giggle. I thought I saw somebody put something in there. They're like, yeah, no, fuck you. Monday at 2 a.m. No. So while the Pucknologists are officially going on summer hiatus until October, once I push the little button that says end broadcast, which Jerk no doubt is just going, do it. Between now and next season, there will obviously be a lot more stuff to talk about. There's the draft lottery, there's the actual draft, which I expect some combination of Ian, Mark, which they did yeoman's work last season, but maybe Jewel's gonna get in there, maybe Lacey. I look forward to the whole draft coverage. Of course, free agent frenzy will bring about some Teal Town USA lives, other summer shenanigans. So make sure to subscribe, hit the bell if you want to know and be alerted whenever we go live. It's the bomb. And on Twitter, you can find him at hockey_jerk. You can find me at AJ_strong. Remember to subscribe to this channel. Leave your take in the comment section of the video if you weren't with us live, and you can find links to all of our social media and more, the podcast apps, everything. They're included in the show notes, and you can get everything on tealtownusa.com. If you want access to that VIP Discord party, you know it. Hockey Jerk has you on the Twitter machine at hockey_jerk. So, this is it. I mean, what do you want to put in my yearbook, sir? What would you like to write in my yearbook? Hags.
Have a good summer.
Have a good summer. What
Karlsson is the best.
Are you serious?
And
are you going to do anything with the other boys during the summer break? Or are you just like, nope, not going to see my ass until October?
Probably somewhere in the middle.
You're like, when Lacey and Ian talk about something I want to talk about, then I'll be involved. Aside from that, fuck them.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
I was going to say TTG, teal tinted glasses typically takes the mantle for the spring summer content. Would you be willing to come back and have a little Sunday night, maybe, I don't know, 30 minutes after the cup is handed out, and we can both sit there and go, man, our brackets were so close and we both sucked. Or we sit there and go, dude, let's flex, dude. Our brackets was this shit.
I could potentially be schmoozed into that.
Hey, now. Oh, hell yeah. So, I don't know. Wish everybody a really good summer and spring and summer. And hopefully, if you play the bracket game, hope you do well. If you root for a baseball team, hope you do well. What else is there to root for the spring and summer?
Soccer, if that's your thing.
Who? What'd you say?
Soccer.
I mean, okay. I don't know. May 8th. Yeah. TOBT. So that's literally I mean, again, Nick Nolenberger is going to be on with Lacey and Ian on Wednesday. That's going to be fun because it's going to be a big wrap of the Barracuda season, which, let's be honest, was kind of entertaining, intriguing. It was fun to watch. But May 8th, yeah, that's going to be the big one. And enjoy anybody and everybody on the May 8th show that is not named AJ or Jerk, because we're not going to be there. What are we going to be doing on May 8th? Are we going to, we're one of us at the very least is probably going to be at a craps table. That sound about right?
Yeah, I might have to get after a little bit.
Hey, yeah. So with that, man, I'm taking too long to get out of here because it's our last one. I know we're not going to be talking to these people for like 6 months. So
Unless you join the Discord.
Oh yeah, Discord.
And it's already, some of the regulars in there, have already committed to ensuring that the entertainment will continue during the summer.
Nice. Solid. And there's a shit ton of memes that really, for some reason, spend way too much time making fun of me, but that's okay. I'm a big boy. I can deal with it.
I'm seriously considering, it's funny you mentioned that. I'm considering.
Are you going to open up another channel where it's like AJ memes only?
No. I was thinking about doing maybe not a channel, but like a thread off of like the channel that it drops you into when you join the server. Like doing like a spin-off thread that's just like all of like the Discord lore. Cause dude, there's a lot of stuff in there where like out of context, it's like if I were to say to you Believe right now, would you know what that means?
I think it has something to do with Justin Bieber.
Oh, okay. So yes, that you're not technically wrong, but Believe, it's a thing just out of context. You're like, what the hell does that mean? But I guarantee you the regulars in the Discord are going to start popping off in the chat as soon as I said the word Believe. You just got to give it however much time it takes.
Okay, but that's the whole thing. You literally said the word to me. I told you what it meant to me.
Right. No.
And so why are you going to roast me because of what I said?
No. It's not. No. It's not a roast. It's saying, hey, the Discord server has kind of, it's got its own personality.
Oh, it does. Lacey, are you fucking serious?
Pucknologists 1, no spaces, no capitals, and that's the number.
Yeah. Oh, again, you know what? That's a good sign off. If you want to join our playoff bracket, Twitter, Tealtown USA, it's the pinned tweet. You can go hit it up there. Get into our NHL bracket challenge. The password Pucknologist1. There's no capitals, right?
No capitals, no spaces.
All right. So Pucknologist,
and it's the number 1.
Yeah. Pucknologist number 1. There you go. That's your. How many folks we got in there? Last time I looked, it was somewhere in the 20s, maybe.
41.
Oh, love it. So get your picks in.
And you have, so obviously it's going to lock, let me see. It looks like it's going to lock after all of the game 1s have been completed. So that would be Wednesday the 19th at midnight Eastern, I'm assuming.
Fuck, I would have thought it would have locked as soon as the puck drops for the very first game.
That's what I would think too. But I mean, if you say,
oh really?
Avalanche,
did Ian hit this shit last year?
He did. Yeah, he said Colorado over Tampa.
Oh, yeah, but I remember Lacey like breaking his arm to pat his own back last year too. He made a pick.
Well, I said I had Colorado Tampa in the final as well, but I said Tampa was going to win.
Oh, there you go. Yo, yeah, I remember putting you out in front of Amalie Arena. Yeah. All right. So, thank you so much for joining us every sending. No. Thank you so much for spending your Sunday nights with us. We definitely. How much do you appreciate that? That hey, for the longest time, Jerk has somewhere to go on a Sunday evening.
No, you know what? It is.
It's fun to look forward to, right?
No, it totally is, because it's like, again, you and I kind of look at ourselves the same way, right? It's like just these guys who just for some reason, log onto the internet and just talk and
just
for some reason,
babble.
Right. And for some reason, it's really compelling to a lot of people, which is, it's awesome.
Our apologies.
But no, it's kind of cool. It's in an appreciative way where it's like, man, like, not to say that we're changing lives or anything, but like we, have we have a positive effect on other people. A quick example is, there have been, I've seen multiple messages where, again, going back to our Discord server, somebody in the Discord will say like, hey, I was having a crappy day. You guys were making me laugh my ass off. And I'm like, that's what we're going for, Well, dude,
imagine the disinformation that we could actually destroy if this was streamed daily on the San Jose Sharks fan Facebook page. Oh my Lord, the disinformation, misinformation that we could take care of. Oh, so thank you so much for listening. Have a fantastic playoff. I hope your bracket wins. Have an incredible off season. Enjoy your spring and summer. Get the beach bod that you've always wanted. Get the mental stability from going out and just breathing air and riding the bike and doing all of the fun things to do during spring and summer, concerts, all of that stuff. I want to say stick taps to Puck Guy, Ian, Jewels, Landy, Dana, Mark, Lacey, everybody who held it together on nights that weren't Sunday. Right?
Pretty much.
Yeah. So thanks so much to everybody who held it down. I know, dude, because Ian, I thought he was going to take a hostage in that last week. He was so tired of talking about this team. So we thank you so much, and good luck on everything during your off season. Until next time, from the bottom of our absolute teal hearts, we say this.